diaspora. What we are doing right now is no different than what you saw Jews do. They didn't say that we're not white people. What they were saying was we need to clarify the position that Jews hold among the Europeans. So don't put no more clear where we sit and what we are and what we're about. And that's what we're doing as well, so that we don't have any confusion. So that people who call themselves, whether it's in the United States, some of these foreign-born black people, or foreign-descended black people, or those who we meet in their home countries, we don't want them getting us wrong. And when they come over here, we definitely don't want them getting us wrong. Everybody needs to be clear. We're hitting the reset button so that we can have clarity. You're going to be hearing a whole lot of us throwing the words of all of these other non-black groups and non-foreign, non-domestic born black people in their faces as far as what black people are owed. Expect to be hearing and seeing a lot of that. All of these people have been running around making all kinds of justifications for why the Jews should get reparations for a crime that happened in Europe. Or, in the case of Zbigniew Brzezinski, that little clip that I played for you, that was taken from Zbigniew Brzezinski commenting on the Ukraine. That's where that's from. He was talking about the Ukraine's future and what can be done to those old ethnic antagonists. That's what a white man would say about other white people, what they can do amongst themselves. You see, everybody's entitled to reparations except for black people, because white supremacy has turned the world on its head. White supremacy has misshapen and perverted and twisted the entire global order into nothing more than a racialist pyramid scheme with black people at the bottom. And what started off at first was for the European to steal everything that wasn't bolted down or on fire. And starting about 130 years ago, the European decided to switch to phase 2 of the white supremacist project, which was to freeze the world the way that it is, to ensure that the European never loses the position with which they emerged from imperialism. And this has had a number of different iterations throughout the last 120 to 130 years, starting off with the Vienna Conference, then going into the ill-fated League of Nations, then coming out of the Second World War, you had Bretton Woods, the European Union, and the Project for a New American Century. So these are all just different names for the exact same agenda, which is to make sure that white people don't lose their position. Because all that stuff these folks were doing, they were not concerned about the rest of the world. They were only concerned about white folks and how to make sure that white people stayed on code. And part of being on code means you ain't sitting here shooting each other, having knocked down drag-outs about which one of y'all is going to be ruling over everyone else. That's not the kind of thing that's productive. So the European, because of the fact that he's never been able to get along with anyone, not even himself, of course it was going to boil over. Of course these guys were going to have a go at each other. That's what they were doing before they were able to break through the Moorish blockade and get down into Africa in the late 15th century. These guys spent the better part of 1,000 years since the Romans left, just basically having to go at each other. Now, for those of us whose ancestors were caught up in the slavery experience, what does this have to do with us? We were wrong. We are the most wronged and righteously aggrieved people on the planet. And there are a lot of people who have been eating off of our deprivation, eating off of our poverty, who've been having a damn good time filling their bellies at our expense. And what they figured was that the day would never come that a critical mass of black people would ever put their heads together, put their differences aside, and decide that they were going to pursue a black first agenda. But we need to be very clear. When we say black first, we're not at the point yet where we have the resources or where we have the political wherewithal to be able to impose black empowerment outside of our sphere. Make no mistake, you go to Jamaica, you don't go, take a look at Jamaica. Ain't a damn thing black empowerment happening down there. Haiti, need I say more?
You don't look like a white supremacist.
You say that Brazil has more black people than any place outside of Africa. Yeah. You go down to Brazil, these guys are dysfunctional as well. And there's a lot of black folks in South America. There's a lot of black people who got caught up in the slavery experience. Very few who reacted the way that we did. Black empowerment is not something that's going to come naturally to the rest of the diaspora. We are going to find us having to impose it on them. As I keep pointing out, this is not new. Shaka Zulu had to do the exact same thing. Time ran out for him. Let us pray that it does not run out for us. The Europeans are watching us. He's seeing that the threat that he failed to deal with 160 years ago. Now this threat has grown and is beginning to coalesce and it's beginning to magnify itself. He's got a big problem on his hands. We are a political problem. And he's decided that he was going to pursue a strategy of drowning us out of existence. At first, bring in a whole bunch of his kith and kin from Europe. Didn't have enough of them to bring in, so he started bringing in folks from Southern Europe, people who were not considered to be white at all. But go ahead and give them the political designation white, so that they'll be on the team.
Really like trying to
They
lie.
won't be accepted, but the point is they'll toe the line. That's really all that matters. And Hispanics were among that group. And then when that wasn't enough, we'll bring in a bunch of foreign-born Asians. We're just going to drown these slave descendants in a whole bunch of foreigners. And the whole point is going to be this is a mass political operation geared toward trying to give us political cover to say, well, what you slavery descendants, what you guys have to say, that doesn't really mean much because we've got all these other groups here and they don't have the same rights as you. So, nobody's concerns are really more important than anyone else's. Your concerns are certainly no better and certainly no more important than anyone else's. And this is deliberate. Because these other groups, they're still a tiny minority of the population. We, on the other hand, represent 1 out of 7 people in the country. So trying to drown us is a political operation meant to solve the political threat that we pose. We put the lie to all of it. In prior civilizations, whenever you had a slave population, when the slave population's usefulness had been expended, they
killed them.
This would happen without fail in every
killed
civilization
them.
in the world. Well, at least in Europe and Asia. In Africa, you might have a couple of hoots and hollers, but no wholesale attempt to wipe out an entire group. But slavery wasn't really the same in Africa. To the extent that it existed, the Africans did not use any sort of indentured servitude the way the Europeans and the Asians. So let's not get twisted. But in every other instance where you had a slave population, in the end, they were exterminated. You didn't want to have these guys hanging around because the work that they were doing was not
Yeah, but not only that, like, that was you told on yourself.
Sure did. So you got to kill
I'm like, are you sure about that? Okay, then how come
it's talking about that? Supposed to get rid of them when it's over. That didn't happen here. We put up too big a fight. And before it was all over, well, now the slaves are still here. Well, damn. And there's too many people watching now. And these slaves have come to do quite a bit to influence what people think of in this country. Man, we can't kill them without basically contradicting everything we claim to stand for. White supremacy is an idea, and the lies that white supremacy uses to try to justify itself and try to pretend like it's not so evil that it clearly is, that's also an idea. So they're stuck on the horns of a dilemma. This is what Thomas Jefferson meant when he said, we have a tiger by the ears and we can neither safely hold him nor let him go. We're not going to stop what we're doing, but at the same time, we don't know how the hell to keep this up. So where in the world do all these foreigners come into play? They have been the indirect, and in many cases, direct beneficiaries of our enslavement. Everything that we built that has gone to
that's good for us, but
ourselves. We are owed, and the bill is due. Time to pay up, sucker, the rent's due. And yes, it is going to be to the tune of trillions of dollars. Because those individuals who have become rich off of us, look at how much richer they become over the last 350, 400 years. They didn't make chump change. They became the most powerful and most opulent and wealthiest nation in human history. That means the reparations that go to their victims will be the biggest in human history. And all of these immigrants, I don't give a damn where they come from. If they come from Mexico or whether they come from Mali, if they come from Washington or if they come from the far side of Guangzhou, I don't give a damn where the hell they come from. Once they come over here in the United States, they have volunteered to pay that debt because not a damn one of those immigrants can claim that they didn't know what they were getting into. Every one of them knew what they were getting into. But what they also knew was that black people were paving the way to try to make this country, at least on occasion, act like something resembling civilization. When you think about the United States of America, especially what it means for people who are not white males, it comes down to the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and 65. Those were not the results of Asians. There weren't enough of them here, and the few of them who might have been here at the end of the 19th century, they weren't fighting for anything.
Because they wanted to try to catch.
It wasn't the result of Hispanic side.
Sarah and them being
The Mexican-American War all the way to present. These guys have not been doing anything except for the old days that they were Spaniards. It ain't the result of Arabs or Indians or Native Americans or these foreign-born blacks. It was the result of those of us who were here, those of us whose ancestors were dying and suffering in the hells of North America. We made the United States. Whatever good it is you think of the U.S., we are responsible for that. We and we alone. 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were not the result of white folks having a come to Jesus moment. They didn't do it out of the goodness of their own hearts. If they did, what the hell were they up to for the previous 300 years then? No, they did it because we faced them with a political dilemma and they had no other way out. We put their backs to the wall, and it was a matter of, you've already had one civil war. If you don't come down on the right side of history this time, you're in for a second one. They say, okay, fine. It was political necessity. A necessity that we brought about. No one else. Not a brag, just a historical fact. We're acquainting people with the history now. And we're letting people know that we are a unique people. We are a special people, a people apart. We are an exceptional group. And what was done to us has never been done to anyone in the history of the world. Hence, what we are due is beyond anything that any other group of people are due. And as for these immigrants who have come in, you guys owe us too. In fact, you owe us more than everyone else, because at least with the good white folks who were here beforehand, these guys, they were being a bunch of honest thieves. These immigrants who came in, they were being nothing more than a bunch of base opportunists. They came in, they saw how we were being treated, and they threw in their lot with the oppressors, and then they want to have it both ways. At least the white supremacists, the indigenous white supremacists, native white supremacists here, at least he knows what he's doing is wrong. These other groups saw it, said that it was wrong, and then said, you know what, we're going to help you out anyway. We're going to help out the white supremacists anyway. I just love it when you got some good white folks today, or better yet, you got some of these immigrants who want to try to pretend as if, oh, well, I shouldn't owe anything. Let me tell you something. This is a message. In fact, this is the entire reason for tonight's video essay. I got something to say to all of you foreign-born folks, or you descendants of foreigners, like Joy Reid, and Angela Rye, and Roly-Poly Martin, and Kamala Harris, and every one of you who happen to either be immigrants or the children of immigrants. You are not going to get away with that con game of, well, I wasn't any part of this. I just showed up yesterday. Yeah, why the hell are you here? You're here because this is a land of opportunity. There are vast economic resources. Yes, economic resources that were only made possible because of my people. You don't get to take credit. You weren't part of that. The only reason why this empire of liberty, this bastion of capitalism, free market nonsense, whatever you want to call it, even exists, is because we made it possible. It could not have stored up and stockpiled the wealth that it had if it hadn't been for us. That was our doing, not yours. So when you come over here calling yourself trying to get a piece of the action, you're going to get a piece of our action. And the thing about it is, you want to get the action, you got to pay full freight for it. Oh, you weren't responsible for slavery. You weren't responsible for Jim Crow.
The
you
black
weren't responsible
code.
for the black code. Yeah,
You will benefit from it.
Now happened. For these foreigners to call themselves clean up in here, they claim no responsibility.
Oh yeah, the white lady.
You're a damn lie. People think of that as the most dyed-in-the-wool white supremacists. It's no different than if you try to buy a house. You call yourself wanting a house. You look and say, I like the 2-car garage. I like the 3.5 baths. I like the nice basement. It doesn't smell too much like mold. I like the wood carpet and all the rest of it. And oh, it's got such nice acoustics. And the place, it's so
looks like that super earth.
If you want all of that, you like what that house has to offer because it's better than the other houses on the block. Well, there's going to have to be some responsibility for any outstanding liens on that home. You also are responsible for that too. So if you call yourself liking all the nice amenities that the house has, you like the fact that it's got 2 stories, you like the circular driveway, you like the fact that it's a smart home, and it's got an internal intercom system. You like all that great stuff, then you got to go along with the debts that go with the house too, if there are any. And guess what?
You know,
When it comes to those of us who are the descendants of slaves, you're looking at the lien holders. The United States has the biggest liens on its house of any on the block. So as soon as you decide you want to move into this house, well, you got to take care of those liens too. I, as a black man, cannot think that I can go to Germany and that I can opt out of whatever historical debts that Germany owes to the Jews or anyone else, and it owes dues to black people. And yet the Germans ain't talking about reparations to black people. Gee, I wonder why. But as a black man, I cannot think that I can go to Germany or France and that I am not going to have my taxes go to pay Germany and France's historical debts to the Jews. I can't say, well, I wasn't part of that. I'm just here to work and do my... Why should I be paying anything? They'll tell you quick, well, these are the historical debts that this country owes because of things that it did, or in the case of France, things that it failed to do. And the same thing goes for the United States. You don't get out of the U.S.'s debts. The second that you come over here, you're volunteering to be part of those debts, the same way you called yourself volunteering yourself to get some of these goodies too. So any of you immigrants, any of you foreigners in the sound of my voice, just understand, you have now volunteered to be part of that group that has to pay for America's debts to black people. Period. Those of us who are descendants of slaves. You have now volunteered to be part of that group that has to pay off. Now, if you decide that you don't want to do that, then it's very simple. The same way that you look at a house and find out that it's got outstanding liens, you go, ahead, I'm not going to pay somebody else's debts. You go find another house. You better stay away from this. This house has all sorts of pre-existing obligations and debts that go along with it. And if you decide that you want this house, then you got to pay the debts so you don't get out. You don't get to hide behind, well, I didn't rack it up. You're right, you didn't rack it up. You volunteered for that payment. Simple as that. It's time that we start making these people act like adults and not children, acting like Billy. But Billy, it wasn't me. Nobody wants to hear that crap. Everything that the United States has done wrong, the greatest crime in human history, and here you are acting as accomplices after the fact. You're damn right you owe us. Nobody's playing games with you. I don't give a dang if you come from Japan or Jamaica. As soon as you set foot on American soil, you are now volunteering to pay those debts. At the end of the day, you knew when you came over here, as soon as you set your foot on this soil, you're sitting here going, well, I want a piece of all of this wealth and opulence that's going on here. Well, then you got to pay respect to the people who made it possible. If you don't like that, then you need to go to a place where they don't require that. Because in this place, sons and daughters of America's first
we demand that shit.
Only victims of this country, slaves, we do require. That's mandatory. You don't get out of that. Oh, well, that happened so long ago. No, it didn't. And the after effects, the problem is slavery was the biggest crime in human history. And not only was this crime unpunished, it's also unfinished. It's still going on now. With the sole exception of the putting people basically into stocks and pillories or otherwise, which they do behind closed doors now. That's what the prisons are for. Every single aspect and detail of slavery has been maintained in its totality all the way up to the present. From using the preacher man on the plantation in order to keep the slaves in check and tell them that you have to be obedient to massa, at least don't fight them, don't be fighting them now, what would Jesus do? That's what they were doing on the plantation.
Jesus was a rebel.
And you got a whole bunch of bed wenches, which is part of the problem that we happen to have. Once you corrupt the mothers of a civilization, that civilization is effectively cut off at the knees and gutted. And is not the leader, and in too many cases doesn't even wish to be because he's confused. He was either raised the wrong way or his spirit, such as it was, has been broken. Look at Terry Crews if you want a pathetic example of that. If you wind up fostering cowardice and somebody who is going to be complacent, somebody who is going to just decide that he's going to defer to anyone and everyone, then what you have is not a man at all. The whole idea of breaking the slaves, I keep telling you that the breaking process is a daily process. It's not an event, it's a process. And every day, the breaking process must repeat itself over and over again. It's a daily breaking process that we have been subjected to. We and no one else. We get singled out for oppression. And it's not being done to us because of our tax bracket. It's not being done to us because of anything that we did. It's a matter of when you're black, this is what's supposed to be done, and it's an organized effort, largely organized by the government. Look at what Kamala Harris did, if you want a clear example of that. The California Bureau of Prisons stuffs the prisoners into prisons to such a degree that it violates the Constitution. What does Kamala Harris do? She look and say, hey, the Constitution is the law of the land. That's the end of it. Nope, what she says instead is, well, we know the prisons are overcrowded, but we're not letting anyone out, even if they're non-violent offenders. We're not letting anyone go. Then when it comes time to talk about Proposition 8, the gay marriage ban that California voters have passed, what does Kamala Harris say? Well, I have discretion, and I'm not going to defend this law in court. But the voters voted for it. They wanted that. Well, I got discretion, and that's the end of it. Well, what about the Bureau of Prisons overcrowding the prisons to the point that it violates the Constitution? Well, I have to defend that. I mean, I can't choose who my clients are. I disagree with what they do, but I'm bound. I have to defend it. See, she wants to choose, because that's how the system works. There are people who the laws are going to be applied to, black people when it comes to drugs, and there are people who the law will never be applied to, white people who it applies to men. The meth epidemic is bigger than the crack epidemic or the heroin epidemic of the 70s and 80s ever were. Yep, for some damn reason, the entire social discourse about meth, and only meth, it's a politically protected drug, it's a politically protected narcotic.
You don't hear nothing about it.
The discourse is about prevention, it's about drug treatment. And you see both Democrats and Republicans saying that. Nobody's saying we need to build more prisons. Nobody's saying we need 3 strikes laws. Nobody's saying we need Rockefeller laws for meth. Nobody's saying we need mandatory sentencing guidelines, zero tolerance. Nobody's saying we need a war on meth. Instead, what they're saying is, well, the drug war is wrong. It's a failure. No, what it means is we got to stop that kind of talk as far as meth goes. We need people to understand when you say meth, you're talking about a drug that's protected. You're talking about a narcotic that has protection under law. These people are immune because it's dealing with white people. That's what it's really about. It ain't the drug that's being protected from law. It's not the drug that has immunity from prosecution. It's the people who use it. White people. That's what it really comes down to. All of these folks who have been eating off of our suffering, eating off of our labors, eating the fruits of our labors. You got these people who come in here, either from Europe, Asia, Africa, the Philippines, and here they are spitting on the individuals who made all of this possible. They see what the hell's being done against us, but instead of the response being, you know what, this is wrong, it's unjust, why? How many of these foreigners say, I came from a place where injustice was the rule of the land, and here they are over here in a place where the injustice is far worse, far more blatant, and yet their response is, you Negro, you guys, you just don't work. They know that it's a lie.
Man.
They know that black people, nobody works harder than the poor. And that being the case, nobody works harder than black people. But what these guys also understand is there's a racialist pecking order. And that the only hope that those who are not already part of the in-crowd have to get something resembling less odious
what do you mean cools down?
White majority is that they got to dump on black
cools down. What do you mean by that? Cool.
The Irish showed up. They had the signs up saying no dogs or Irish.
The sun's not even out. What are you talking about? I said the sun's not even out. What are you talking about? Cool down. That's what I'm saying.
Make them a little hungry. Give them a couple of smacks upside the head. Let them know that this is the kind of treatment you can expect. Unless you show that you're dedicated to team white supremacy.
Oh,
come on. You know the rules. Nope. There's a racial pecking order here. You'll never be a top. That's not for you. But unless you want to enjoy being at the bottom with the rest of the former slaves, you better show your allegiance to team white supremacy. What happened during the draft riots? You had a lot of these Irish immigrants and Irish people who have been Irish migrants who were being told you're going to be pressed into service in the war. Now, did the Irish decide they were going to go after the ruling Protestant class in the U.S.? No, they didn't. What did they do?
See, that's another thing, too. Baltimore, you sure did that hella quick.
They decide they showed the same kind of cowardice that they showed in Ireland. You want to know why Ireland still has the Anglo-Irish running things and the Anglo-Saxon access in charge. You take a look at the industrial map of Ireland, and you see who actually owns the companies.
I mean, I would literally have to, like, swear.
They're owned by Anglo-Irish, which are the descendants of British and Irish.
Like right there is the only place
or they're just owned by
you literally have to build a shelf.
It ain't just Northern Ireland either. So the exact same cowardice that the Irish showed in Ireland, they showed that they hadn't discovered their guts over in the New World either. They were looking for a place on team white supremacy, and as soon as they were given, as soon as they had enough hazing and they showed that they could be counted on to uphold the old order, as soon as they had shown that they were going to uphold the racialist pecking order, then the designation of white was given to them. And the same thing happened with these other groups, like, say, the Italians, and this is one in particular that just makes me want to puke. The Italians, and we're talking about people who consider themselves to be educated, they love to wash your face with a little incident that happened in New Orleans. There were 11 Italians who got themselves lynched in the late 19th century. I think it was like 1890, 1891, because there was a police chief who got killed, and apparently some of the perpetrators, alleged perpetrators, they've been acquitted at trial, and what happened was apparently some of the good white folks decided they would get their hands on these Italians. At least 11 of them were hanged in public, and they were dismembered. In other words, they were treated like black people, treated the exact same way that black people have always been treated in this country.
We can only visit.
Now, that's pretty much the only such incident that occurred. But if you hear the Italian Americans tell the story why, they talk about it as if
really?
more Italians were killed by
that's an actual, like, well, can't let you just have all your girlfriends here. We might you might be trying to pull an orgy in jail, right?
And yet, look at our position. You see, you niggers, you
police,
you Molianis, you don't do no work. That was the Italians. So you see how that whole pattern repeated itself over and over.
You niggas, you police, you don't do no work.
So-called braceros. These were Mexicans who were supposed to be doing work in the United States, day laborers and such. Apparently somebody missed their paychecks and sent them back home without pay, and I guess they've been nursing a grudge ever since. But you see the point that I'm trying to get across here. These other migrant groups, they had basically very small, petty incidents, not even grievances, just small misunderstandings. And yet, as far as they're concerned, somehow that puts them in the same category as us. We gotta make it clear.
Yeah, but you probably gotta pay for that shit.
Stop being bashful about saying that. The reason that they keep trying is because they don't see any resistance from us when they try it. Part of the same reason why it is that our music culture gets raped.
Yeah,
we're not protecting it. We're not sticking up for it. So everybody looks and goes, well, hell, if you guys can't be bothered to protect what's yours, well, then I guess that makes it ours, because apparently you can't be bothered to protect it. No, we are an exceptional people. What happened to us was different than what happened to any other group of people in the entire history of the world, including the Jews. You do not get to claim that what happened. So 11 Italians had a misunderstanding with their European neighbors. That's not the same thing as what happened to us. Because you got one incident, which was not even the result of a misunderstanding. The police chief actually got killed in New Orleans. A death actually happened. Emmett Till, nothing happened at all.
Yeah.
The Jonesboro boys, nothing happened at all. The Central Park Five, nothing happened at all. Oh, but they all went to jail and got killed. That did happen. So no, you don't get to claim that garbage. Every single one of these migrants coming in here, you guys, as soon as you set foot on American soil,
meter starts
that's
running.
it. The meter starts running. Here's your receipt. Here's what you owe.
But I didn't do nothing. I had nothing to do with slavery.
You coming over here trying to benefit from it, ain't you? Until black people are made whole, until this country is forced to divest itself of the ill-gotten gain that it has reaped off of our black backs, until black people are restored to the condition that we should have been in from the very beginning, which is having the resources that we need to ensure our prosperity and posterity, then yeah, the meter keeps running. All these clowns, all this freaking confusion, You got these folks who have made common cause with white supremacy, and they're trying to tell us to sit on our hands while they eat the food that we cooked, that we prepared to be in our bellies, and here they are just scarfing up what the world is supposed to be in our bellies. Don't dream.
I forgot we had hot dogs.
Yeah, we know it's going to ruffle some feathers. We know it's going to make people mad, because what they're really angry about is there's an exceptional group of people here in the United States, and it ain't the people who allegedly founded the country. Real founders of the country, the ones who really built it, they're asserting themselves. And because of the fact that people have not had to hear this, nobody's been saying this, nobody's been speaking boldly like this, now they're getting all caught up in their feelings. You guys shouldn't be saying that. Why not? It's the truth. What they're mad about is we're reminding them. We're reminding them that the people who have been locked out, shut out, and systematically kept out are the very ones who made the United States possible. Everything from its prosperity to its culture, that's what we put in place. All this other garbage, all this imitation European crap that you see going on, that's what the United States would be if it wasn't for black people. Culturally, the United States would be imitation Europe, and a poor imitation of Europe.
16.
Whatever you think of as being actual Americana, it's actually actual descendants of slave culture. That's what it is. It's what we made, what we built, what we made possible. That's a fact. All these other groups who have brought their so-called culture here, what the world did they bring? It didn't catch on, not the way that ours did. It did not become part of the fabric of the nation. It simply became some interesting details. It's part of the reason why a lot of that stuff is eminently forgettable. This is the thing that our culture actually represents the culture of the country. Everybody else will be eternally foreign. Because the truth of the matter is, even stuff is supposed to be coming from Europe. Classical music, that stuff's slang thought of as American. The only classical music in the United States has jazz.
Yeah.
That's American classical.
Black people made that shit.
Represented the heart and
not
rhythm.
Cisco Eber.
Not a bunch of well-to-do genteel idiots out at their lake houses or in their lofts somewhere. You need a music that everyone can look at and say, yeah, this is the music of the nation. This is the heartbeat of the society. You don't get that from some hoity-toity clowns trying to play Shostakovich's greatest hits. They don't work like that. Small niches like that may make the 1% feel as if they're so much better than everyone else, but the very fact that you're trying to be better than everyone else means you're not like the rest of society, which means that what you're doing is not part of the social fabric. And they're mad about that. They're mad about it because at the end of the day, they know that all their claims, all these other groups, their claims of hard work and all the rest of it, they us to either be silent about the fraud or to agree. And what's happening is we're contesting the fraud. We're arguing with the fraud. We're disproving the fraud. As Dr. John Henry Clark said, when black people, those of us who are descended from slaves, when we start winning again, a whole lot of
motherfuckers are gonna be black.
Been calling themselves, I ain't black, I ain't this, that, and the third, all of a sudden they're going to want to be black. Yeah, when our team starts winning again, all of a sudden that's what they're going to be saying. There were people just a few weeks from now, they would never have been tolerating talk about reparations stuff, but now that they're seeing that we can have an impact on presidential candidates, and they see the presidential candidates almost overnight are talking about reparations, or at least they're saying the words. We got the bastards saying the words now. Now they're looking and going, oh my God, it's possible. Well, where's my check? Wait a minute. And that's another thing that needs to be addressed. Not merely a matter of whether or not you can trace the lineage of slaves, but just to make sure we don't have anybody that's coming outside of the United States trying to claim something for them. It's also a matter of, I think that we ought to be checking people's online presence. You've been running around saying or posting or poo-pooing the idea of reparations before now, or you were trying to just say, well, that ain't never going to happen. You were somebody who was not a true believer, or somebody who was basically saying put this aside. In other words, you didn't believe that black people were owed, or you didn't believe it was necessary. In that case, then great. Your share goes to somebody else, and that's what's supposed to be. People need to be made to pay a price for their actions. Actions should carry consequences. Yeah, you're going to have a whole lot of folks who previously been denying being black, denying being descended from slaves, or saying that that doesn't matter, or get over it. As soon as they find that it's time for the slaves to actually be compensated for their suffering, then all of a sudden, oh, that's going to be the only thing that matters. And how many of these folks out here, these immigrants, are going to be claiming that their great-great-grandfather was an octoroon? Or their great-great-great-great-grandmother was on a plantation in Florida somewhere. All of a sudden, you're going to have a lot of these folks, especially these white folks, who are going to be claiming that, well, I have a black ancestor in my family tree, and it's going to be a con, just like the $5 Indian thing, just like Elizabeth Warren. It's going to be a con game. They're going to be looking, trying to figure out how the world they get what's meant for us. They've been saying nothing up until now because it ain't true. As far as they're concerned, hey, they're white, they got their position, that's the end. But all of a sudden, they're going to be telling tall tales and inventing all sorts of fairy tales about black ancestors so they can get something out of it. And we got to make sure that we call foul on the play. No, this is not about trying to separate ourselves from the rest of the sons and daughters of Africa. We need to get it straight where we stand. We need to get it straight what place we occupy in the diaspora so that people get us right. Because a lot of the behavior that we've been seeing inflicted against us, it's been foul and wrong. Let's be honest here and just call it what it is. You take a look at Africa, what you find are one of two things. You find hideous dysfunction, not entirely all their fault, but it's still there nonetheless. And you got a bunch of folks who, if you watch them on the news or if you watch them on videos, they tried to act like us. They tried to imitate a black American slave, post-slavery dialect. They try to speak in the patois of those of us that are descended from slaves. They try to do everything they can to copy us. We run around in sports jersey. They want to do it too. You got some guy in freaking Eritrea, or in Cameroon, or in Chad, or God knows where else, Namibia, South Africa. They're running around with a number 23 jersey. And you see them in front of the camera and it's yo, 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 and all the rest of it. You ain't never even been to New York. What the hell are you doing trying to imitate some black people from Brooklyn? What the hell do you sound like? You sound crazy. But this is what's going on, because at the end of the day, we are the ones who define what is seen as black in the eyes of the world. And quiet as it's kept, we've actually, especially under the horrifying conditions that we've been subjected to, we have represented the sons and daughters of Africa exceptionally well. As a group, and oftentimes, most times, in fact, as individuals, we have represented the global African diaspora very well and gotten very little gratitude in return. I could see it differently. Those of us here in the United States who came out of slavery, if we were trashing the rest of the African diaspora, if we were trying to find ways to run the rest of the African family into the ground, I could see that differently. We have been. In fact, we've been one of the few who have been flying the flag high and proud against unbelievable odds. We have been the ones who have been forging and attempting to establish an identity of Pan-Africanism that crosses all lines. We've been the ones looking at all of these foreign-born black people and their descendants, looking at them as one of us. Every time you look up and you see some African descendant who gets killed, whether it's Amadou Diallo or Kai Gurley, we've been the ones out there flying the flag for them. We did not care where they came from. As far as we were concerned, they were one of us. But the problem is, in too many instances, the sentiment has not been returned. And what's happening now is there has been a schism not created by us. Now, the schism is going to be healed in time. It's going to be. But first, what's going to have to happen is those of us who are descended from slaves, we're going to have to get enough power to make sure that A, we are protected from any further attacks, but B, we're also going to have enough power so that we can go ahead and knock some sense into the rest of the family. And we got to say it like that. We cannot afford to have any of these petty arguments where everybody decides they're going to go this or that way, or the old tribalism and factionalism coming to the surface. People are going to have to, the African is going to have to once again be made to reunite. This is old. This is an old problem. You can go all the way back to Kemet. You want to know why Dr. John Henry Clark called the Nubian dynasties Kemet's last walk in the sun? It was because for the first time in 10,000 plus years, the two great houses of the Nile, Kush and Kemet, had finally been reunited under one roof. Now, it wasn't the longest dynasty, but it was by far the greatest. because it was a restoration of a righteousness that had been missing for the longest time. Reuniting the African family under one banner. It's an idea whose time has come, and it's one that we have struggled with more than any other. And that's how we open the door to let the Europeans and the Arabs and all the rest of the dregs of the world in. That's what happened. Because of the fact that we were too busy trying to fly the flag for whatever our particular street was, and didn't understand that the game was bigger than that. You go taking that message to Africa, you will not find a very receptive audience. Let's just call it like it is. The idea of African unity, there's going to have to be a working model for that instituted first, before you can have everybody else rally to it. And who better than us? But if we have anybody who decides that they're going to argue, they got something to say. They got a problem. They have declared themselves the enemies of black empowerment. And you know what it is that those of us who think themselves have done for the entire global African family. Everything that we've done, we've accrued that for the collective esteem and honor and reputation of us all. On the other hand, these foreign players actually, in many cases, not all, but the vast majority, as far as they're concerned, they're repping the flag for Ethiopia. That Ilhan Omar woman, she ain't flying the flag for anybody else except the Somalians, and as you can see, she's flying the flag right before them. She doesn't have the kind of support base that she needs.
Michael Jackson's house is what?
Flying to her aid because she's criticizing Israel. Well, you gotta balance taking right. I gotta see how much she and the rest of the Somalians in Minnesota have been repping Team Black Empowerment. How much have they been doing in regards to those of us who laid stones that they're walking on? What's their attitude? Have they been on a team, or have they been a team of one? See, we gotta make it.
She didn't want to do that whole wholesome black people shit.
We gotta make it.
She didn't want to do the whole wholesome black people shit.
For not doing things right. You don't get your butt in the
She didn't want to do the whole wholesome black people shit.
All of a sudden, but family. Nah, you only get to call on family when you've been acting like family. And that's what we're going to teach a lot of these other groups. We're hitting the reset button. Dr. John Henry Clark told you about that. And I've been quoting him heavily because the Grandmaster Teacher was ahead of his time on so many things. Fresh times 10. He said that you cannot have an alliance unless you have the power to punish the partners should they break the alliance. And that's the reason why those of us whose ancestors came out of the slavery experience, that's the reason why we got to get some power for ourselves. We cannot think, we cannot have mature, intelligent conversations.
Well, but not only that, no. The one thing that I really give Red props, a whole lot of props for, he never talked badly about the movement.
You could enter into an agreement with us. You have any dealings with us, it's going to be honorable, it's going to be above board, ain't going to be no backstabbing, ain't going to be no backbiting, ain't going to be no dirtbag behavior. Because we have the power to punish you if you do it. And that's the reason why they're going to be left out in the cold. They have to be left out in the cold. We're going to let white supremacy have its way with it. And the reason why is this is called hitting the reset button. If we make it where even under these circumstances we decide that everything is everything and we're going to go back to what it was before, then it teaches them nothing. What it teaches them is, oh, well, all we got to do is to play these dumb descendants of slaves is, let's just say white supremacy is all over me. Help, help, my African brothers, I need help. We'll bang that drum and they'll come running because they don't have any better sense. They're like half-loads of dogs. They don't understand what they're doing. No, nobody's coming running. You're on your own. We will note what these things do. We will note how white supremacy is dismantling you. We will note it and say, see, white supremacy is on the march. But as far as flying to your aid, nah, in fact, we're enforcing the rules of one another. How many police shootings have there been? Plenty of them. They haven't stopped. But then the question becomes, how many of them have we been speaking out on? Well, ain't been too many people feeling like they want to call it white supremacy or call it racist. So you notice how we're now remarking on it? No, we're not keeping a daily tally of the latest police shooting of an unarmed black person. Because there have to be rules. Either we're getting on code or we're not. And if you're not on code, you will not be treated as if you're on code. We don't make any exceptions. People need to be taught what the rules are. We have to make the rules clear and obvious. And this is part of that process. We are an exceptional people. And we're going to start acting like it. No matter who doesn't like it. For example, if we just use this as a case study, Take the Nigerians just in particular. Love the Nigerian family. There are many of them who have their heads on straight. There are many of them who have been a big help to us in the black empowerment sphere. There have been many of them who have been very much helpful to us. They've done good work, and they're going to continue to do good work. But unfortunately, there's also a number who apparently seem to think that they're on a different team altogether. What is to be done about this? We have this kind of dichotomy going on. How is this to be handled? We got some fundamental house cleaning that needs to be done. We also got to make sure that we get the rules engraved in stone and very etched in steel so that everybody understands. Because the last thing that we need is for what we're building here to be torn apart by its own internal contradictions.
Right.
We need for everybody to understand that there is going to be a new order under the sun. The new order is going to merely be a restoration of the old. And we're not playing games.
That's funny.
No one's going to be able to
That's
take
funny.
us seriously, either within or without, unless we've got power. Those of us who are on this code, it's etched into our DNA. It happens to be in our bones, it's in our blood, it's in our molecules, because we've been enduring this for so long. And there are a lot of people, some of them who look just like us, who are scared of seeing us rise. Because the problem that a lot of them have is they didn't want to be black. They've got to the point now where they don't really want to be black at all. They're trying to escape blackness. And they'll try to hide their cowardice and their self-hate behind all sorts of kumbaya, oh, we're colorblind, etc. Look, if you're so colorblind, why does it bother you when you see black people trying to fight for our rise? Why does it bother you, the idea that you might have black people in charge? Why does that not sit well with you? A large part of the reason why it doesn't sit well with them is they've been completely bamboozled into the idea that black rule means black misrule. I can show you plenty of incidents where black people have been in charge and run things right. The problem happens to be, at the end of the day, we are a people under siege. A few islands of black competence in a sea of white hostility and malignance. It's going to be a Herculean effort. Not Herculean, it's going to be a colossal effort for us to be able to make sure that we have our integrity intact so that we are in charge, remain in charge, and are able to sustain ourselves. These are the realities. But there's a lot of black people who don't like that idea. The concept of black people being in charge, well, never mind the fact that you've got white supremacy ripping you off 5 days on Sunday. Never mind the fact that your roads are crumbling, the bridges are falling apart while you're driving over them, the power grid is failing, the wars are breaking the nation's back, and the economy is disintegrating in front of you. I mean, black misrule is just so much inferior to the good white.
They were here and gone. She said, "Oh, glad your oven works. I see you're cooking amazing, isn't it?"
But you're terrified that the one
That's what they said to Rose.
in charge is somehow not going to be happy. That's a slave. And these are people who are not going to be of any use to us whatsoever.
But you can't.
There's a lot of
You can
folks,
bring
in fact,
food
50%
if you want. I'm here.
who are going to be left behind. They have the necessity and the need to be. Not everyone's going to make it to the promised land. In fact, there's a lot of them who we don't want to make it to the promised land. The entire point of the 40-year wilderness running around in circles was to let that old generation die off. Because these clowns would have brought the same old backward mentality with them to the promised land, and before it's all over, they would have been marching right back to Egypt. Can we get our old jobs back in the slave quarters? Nah, forget that. We need a clean break with past. We need to be unapologetic about it. We need to be strident about it. We need to teach people how it is that we are to be regarded, and we need to make sure that we stand up for that. That's going to mean that a lot of these folks who've been playing this okey doke on us and trying to pretend, playing the game of we're all minorities. No, you're a minority. I'm the descendant of slaves. Well, we're all people of color. My color is black. I ain't no people I ain't no person of color. I'm black.
Oh, fucking real. You say that shit to me, you really must want your ass whooped.
I'm black.
What? No. People of color, you talking about Mexicans.
Well, we're all disadvantaged. No. We're disadvantaged. You're just occasionally inconvenienced. Don't compare yourself to me. We are an exceptional people. Those of us descended from slaves, we're exceptional. We're different. This is not about saying that we're better than anyone else, but I'll be damned if we continue to lie that somehow we are lesser than.
No,
because that's what
that.
the white media tries to do, and their flunkies. And not all of their flunkies are white. White supremacy is always trying to teach that black people are inferior. That's probably the reason why they like to put out so many stats saying black people are at the bottom of this, black people are at the bottom of that. It's to reinforce a narrative. Black people are at the bottom because they're supposed to be. Their condition cannot be changed. Being out there and aggressively making it known, our condition is artificial. And it has been made to be this way, and we are targeted to make sure we're deprived of resources, that we are continually being attacked, kept under siege, harassed, never given a moment's respite. Whenever we try to build something, the white supremacy and their non-white flunkies are immediately sent in to disrupt what we're doing and try to take it over or to otherwise try to spoil it. Once that becomes firmly established, once we make it clear that we're going to do what it takes to stop this because we see it clearly, don't expect all of these minorities and all of these people of color, don't expect them to be saying, hey, it's a good thing if these black people are on the rise. They're going to be the main ones saying they don't like it. They're going to be the main ones saying that they can't tolerate this, and there's something wrong with it. These talking heads that you see, the children of immigrants, like Joy Reid and Angela Rye, when they see us getting to our feet, when they see us taking power in our hands, when they see us having the ability to call hands, look what they've done just the last couple of weeks alone. You guys need to stop saying all of this stuff about slavery. Yeah, because what they're really saying is we've been the Negroes who white supremacy's put over you, and our ability to keep our position is directly tied to whether or not we can lead you slaves around by the nose. And you guys are making it clear that you won't follow us, and white supremacy won't need us, and we can't have you doing that. You're going to mess it up for us. That's what they're saying. White supremacy's hand-picked bootless, white supremacy's overseers that they've installed in our community. These guys are scared that we are going to bust their hustle. We're going to put a jinx on their hustle. Well, they're wrong. We ain't going to put a jinx on the hustle. We're going to destroy their hustle. We're going to annihilate their hustle. We are going to utterly obliterate it. We will leave nothing of it, not even the memory of it. And since their entire existence is completely tied to that, well, there won't be anything to sustain them either. We intend to make sure that white supremacy is repaid in kind for every single bit of maltreatment that we have received. Every insult, every attack, all of it will be paid back in full. You know what you call that? You call that justice. The world has been fighting a centuries-long war to make sure that this doesn't occur. And these other groups coming in, here they are trying to eat off of us, and they do not recognize what has been done to us, and they spend most of their time trying to make excuses for it. We cannot have people who are not on our side, and here we are trying to make common cause with them or trying to be friends with them. That won't work. No, it's time for us, way past time for us, to be politically selfish. That's going to be the battle cry for 2019. We are politically selfish. We must be politically selfish. That's what Dr. John Henry Clark meant by exercising the essential selfishness of survival. We have been selfless to our own detriment. We're now on death's door. We are now on life support because we've been trying to be everybody's buddy. Nah, forget it. Oh, these other groups, they're going to be criticizing you. These other groups, they won't like you. Well, you just gonna have to hate us. When we got power, we ain't gonna be having time to hear your hate. And we won't care what you have to say because we won't have the ability to do anything to us. So your words will be irrelevant. Oh, that's not going to be very popular. Damn popularity, man. Power ain't about popular. In fact, power is usually the most unpopular thing in the room. It ain't got to be popular. It just has to get your way. That's what power is about. And these immigrant groups who have been coming in here, as they see that white supremacy is going to put aside the game of propping up these groups, as the ability to flood us with all of these non-black foreigners stops being an effective strategy. It loses its potency because we are successfully able to assert ourselves. We organize our numbers, focus our will, start choosing targets for political undermining and attack, and then we start getting our way. All of a sudden, white supremacists are going to be like, okay, well, to hell with this little strategy of kind of propping up these non-black foreigners. We are bringing in a whole bunch of them. They're not doing their job anyway. All of a sudden, you're going to see these guys getting cut off. Here they are going to come running back to us as they did 120 years ago, trying to be our buddies, and that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. These immigrants owe us just as much as these Europeans do. They owe us, and they owe us big. So do not ever let them run that con on you that they weren't part of it, so they don't owe anything. Zbigniew Brzezinski himself, an immigrant, said that if you want to correct the past, that's going to mean imposing some consequences for the people who may not have carried out the historical sins, but they benefited from it. That's the standard. You benefited from it. See, if you're European, you can go ahead and say that. You can say that for the Japanese, you can say it for the Americans. That's fine. Because it doesn't matter who's in the middle of the white supremacist racialist pyramid. What matters is who's at the bottom. As long as you maintain that, everything else becomes relative. But making sure that black people are at the bottom and made to be at the bottom, and violence of all sorts, political violence, economic violence, social violence, and of course physical violence, used in order to freeze that sick, degenerate order in place, hey, that's all justified. So yes, this is a good time to start collecting the quotes from all the white few centuries have been talking about, even if the crime happened long before you were born. Even if the crime was done by someone other than yourself, you got to pay the price for it because you benefited from it. Okay, it happened a long time ago. Doesn't change the fact that the descendants of those people who were wronged are still here. That's the ones the Jews have been using. Most of the people who are actually caught up in the Holocaust are dead now. They've been getting kicked off for 70 years. They've been getting kicked off. And now their descendants are saying, well, the countries that did it are still around, so you've been paying us all this time. Why should you stop now? Okay, so when black people come along and say, well, you know what, we have a crime far worse than happened to the Jews. And the country who did it, or countries who did it, they're still around, and they're still living fat off of what they did to us, the greatest crime in human history. And we know you're going to kick us, fuss about it. We know you ain't going to like it, and that's going to make it so much sweeter. We're banging on the door, and soon we're going to have enough strength and enough organization where we can start kicking the door. Our demand is going to be etched in steel. And the same way that you found white supremacy flunkies like the breakfast schlubs who and Charlemagne the Chump, this guy kills me. I'm all about what the black people have, but they knows me for the longest time. This idiot's got a freaking book behind his head that says black privilege on it. That's meant to appeal to a white audience. That kind of stupid talk. And here he is talking all black empowerment. Yeah, everybody's black empowerment now, and the reason why is you see him speak for the streets. I'm not interested in getting on anybody's show because at the end of the day, this ain't about trying to reach monkeys and mouthpieces. This is about reaching you. That's who I'm trying to reach. You're the audience who matters because you're the ones who are going to get things done. You want to know why Kamala Harris is looking right now and wondering, oh my God, how do I get out of this fix I put myself into? It's because you guys responded the right way. You guys are what's going to determine victory or defeat. This will not be a fight overnight. It ain't going to be won overnight. White supremacy didn't take the world over overnight. We are not going to reclaim the world overnight. This is not going to be one and done. Please don't think that it all comes down to 2020. This is going to be a generational war. In fact, this is going to be the new normal. And if you ain't got what it takes to be able to put your foot to the metal and be able to keep yourself engaged, keep the morale high, keep the energy high, and to be staying with this agenda for the next 25 years. If you can't keep this up for the next 25 years, there's no way, you're kidding yourself if you want to talk about how to do something. If this is something that wears you down, it's just too much, it ain't happening fast enough and all the rest of that, that's the mentality you got, that you ain't built for this. This is only for the doers. This is for the people who live this, eat this, breathe this, are this. And it's not even coming from a place of anger and that much. We have righteous indignation. We have a righteous rage that must be satisfied. But the main thing that this comes from is the irresistible need that justice be done. Justice is the righting of a wrong. And yes, we have a right that justice be retributed. There's an element of retribution to it. Not merely to the white supremacists who carried out the greatest crime in human history, those who come here trying to figure out a flip over the phone about
took that leg off. This nigga was like,
everyone is perfectly defined and are now currently seeking to benefit from it after the fact.
Nigga, you talking to the debt collector.
Calling it out. It's time to hit the reset button. It's time to let everybody know that there's going to be a fundamental rethinking of what it is that you had in mind when it comes to us. All the old assumptions no longer apply. And when these migrants show up, what they're going to be finding is there's going to be less and less black people going to their stores until eventually there's none at all. And when they try to call themselves these immigrants who think of themselves as being so high-minded, doing their best white liberal impersonation is all they're doing. When they show up, they're going to be finding the conversation's different because black folks ain't going to be looking to have friends. Oh, you don't mind being seen in the same room with me? Oh, I just love you. That's stuff getting left behind. It's going to be a new political maturity that's finally coming to surface and assertiveness. We are going to start speaking in the terms that we should have been speaking in all along. And that's in the terms of our power. Notice the word our power. Not merely power, but our power.
About to blow your freaking leg off.
And when they have a problem with it, when they decide that they just, oh, you guys, y'all aren't the way that you used to be. Y'all done changed.
Mm-hmm.
No. What's happened is we've thrown off the program. We've had enough of trying to be everyone's friend. Because when you're politically mature, you understand that we are a group, and groups don't have friends.
Groups have interests.
Have interests.
No.
Ever since we crushed Kamala Harris's would-be presidential bid,
I mean, like,
forces of white
elbows on that bitch.
supremacy around like chickens with their heads cut off.
Drop bones on
Because they didn't expect something like this to happen. They damn sure didn't expect for it to come from us, but now it has. So what white supremacy is doing is it is employing a kitchen sink strategy. They're bringing out all the golden olds, every move that they've ever pulled. Because at this point, it's all hands on deck. So what you've got them trying to pull the feminist card because black women had left the reservation 60 years ago, but it seems like a critical mass of them have come back, and as far as they're concerned, no, the divide and conquer strategy must be in full effect. They're trying to bring out the old preachers because, hey, black folks just love a good sermon. And then they're trying to bring out folks with this black-brown alliance, or rather we should call it what it would be, a brown-black alliance. They want us to be following them. Julian Castro is attempting to pull this one. They're just going overboard. They're trying to do everything that they can to get us off of this because the first thing is, okay, we get it. You guys have got a full head of steam about something. Oh, this reparations thing. Okay, we'll go ahead and say reparations a couple of times. And then what we'll tell you is, yeah, reparations for all disadvantaged people. That's the thing. When you listen to them, see if they say black. If you tell them, we're going to talk about reparations, and the first thing they start saying is disadvantaged, minorities, inner city, places that are underprivileged. They start doing that crap, forget it. If they can't say black and stick to only black, then we ain't with it. This is the reason why we have weaponized the ballot box. I just love having these trolls and morons, either in my comment section or on my Twitter feed, whining like a bunch of babies about, well, Donald Trump, we can't risk him getting reelected. What are you talking about? Well, what's Donald Trump going to do? He's racist. So of the other 40-some-odd presidents, including Barack Obama, what's your point? Oh, well, if you don't like Donald Trump as president, then you might want to decide what's more important to you then. Donald Trump remaining president, or whether or not you do right by black people. Because if you're going to continue the old, with nothing for black folks, though, then you better get ready for Donald Trump to get reelected in 2020 and get ready for President Mike Pence in 2024 and get ready for the reelection of President Mike Pence in 2028 and whatever the hell else comes after, because if these guys don't get stopped, you better believe it's not going to be Mike Pence who's the real problem. It's going to be whoever comes after him. So you got a choice then. Are you going to offer the United States as a sacrifice on the altar of your arrogance and belligerence and your refusal to do what's right? Or are you going to go ahead and do what's right? Well, we know what the answer is. You're going to do what we want when we break you to our will. And that's why we're letting Trump remain in there. And we're going to make sure he stays in there. Why shouldn't we? When the pain gets great enough, you white supremacist trash, whether you're on the left or the right, you ain't got no guts. When the pain gets too much, you'll say, okay, enough. So we're going to go ahead and let you stew in your own juices. We're going to make sure you understand that when you deal with black folks, it's going to be about respect. See, we've learned the lesson. We're not trying to be popular. Because if you want to be popular, as I've always told you, all you got to do is say yes to everyone. If you want to know how to be popular, just say yes to everyone. But you also wind up being their doormat, too. That's what happens when people say yes all the time. People take advantage of it. Oh, they'll like you because they know they can take advantage of it. But if you want to be respected, you better start learning to say no. Because when you start telling people no, they can't just run up in your face and just get something out of you willy-nilly. When they come up to you, they got to think first. They have to consider first. When they deal with you, they know that this is somebody who I can't just take for granted. I show up, I got to come correct or not come at all. They know that. And you better know that too. Politics is a business transaction. So far, they're all trying to figure out if they can buy us off with words. Well, if we just give you niggers a little bit of lip service, we know how you niggers are. You guys always, you just want somebody to say it with the word once or twice. Okay, fine, they will say it once or twice and we'll bury it. But we'll always make sure to say reparations is for everybody.
Bullshit.
No, we're looking to level the playing field. And that being the case, you're going to have to get with that program. And yes, we know that it's going to be politically destabilizing the country. That's the entire point. We want white supremacy to be destabilized. We are trying to bring white supremacy down. That's the entire point.
I mean, boot on the back of the head like,
trash who run YouTube, they understand that they depend on white supremacy for every crumb of their daily bread. So they don't want black folks thinking that we're supposed to be making the political system, the electoral system, unworkable. Because that's what happens when you break one of the electoral arms of white supremacy's administrative arm. When you take one of the two wings of the white supremacist plutocrat party and rip that wing off and break that wing, which is what we're doing to the left wing of white supremacy, we're breaking it. Then what happens is that bird ain't getting off the ground. It's going to be flapping there and not doing anything. It's going to be in a lot of pain, but it won't be going anywhere. They know exactly what this means. They know exactly what the historical and political implications are when you have whole segments of society who decide that they're going to turn their back on the ballot box. They know that you don't just have a short-term problem, you have an imminent problem. You got an issue where you don't need people deciding, well, that ballot box, that's only for those folk over there. Well, that ballot box doesn't mean anything. Or that ballot box has no legitimacy, which means the people who are in office have no legitimacy.
Okay.
What happens in a country where people start deciding, whole segments of the society decide that the person in charge has no legitimacy? Well, what you get is Venezuela. That's what you get. White supremacy is trying to figure out if they can just come up with some weasel words, and that'll get us back on board. But fortunately, a critical mass of black folks have now congregated here. They've migrated to voices like this one, who are telling black folks, nah, we're not doing the okie doke. See, Jesse Jackson can't get you out of this one. That's what the chumps in the Democrat Party need to understand. Your black bootlicks, the people who you've been putting on TV, they're not going to be able to bail you out this time. They can't get you out of this one. You're not going to bring on Simone Sanders and Angela Rye with mustard
later on the side
and think that they're going to give a couple of piddling lip service words to us, and apparently we're supposed to go, yeah, we'll listen to what they say. Nah, we're here, we're seeing them talk. As far as we're concerned, hey, look at these idiots. They think they're going to trick us. That's what's happening. We're looking at them, but it's not because we're taking what they say seriously. We're looking at them and going, yeah, look at the pathetic bootlicks of white supremacy, desperately trying to figure out how they can get us back on board with their plantation, and it ain't going to work. White supremacy understands exactly what it is that we're demanding. We are demanding that they dismantle this anti-black regime with their own hands. And if we put enough pain on them, they'll do it. We understand that this is going to be a long-term thing. Long-term thing is going to be the work of years, not decades. We can win this, but first of all, we got to show for the ages, we got to show that we're willing to show the persistence. we've been consistently inconsistent. Black folks will have a head of steam for a couple of weeks and then it's over. No. When it comes to elections, which in the United States is basically a full-time occupation, it's a full-time process. When it comes to elections, the issue for black folks is reparations, and the larger issue over that, the overarching issue, is tangibles. You come into black folks, you better be showing us some tangibles. What's black folks' issue? Tangibles. What can you put in my hand? Tangibles. That's our election issue. The immigrants got theirs, the white folks got theirs, and we got ours. Except the difference is they'll be going, well, but we can't give you your election issue because this country is based on anti-black racism. It's not based on what we did to the Indians or what we did to the Japanese. It's not based on that. It's based on what we did to you. That's what forms the foundation of this country. And we can't get rid of that. Well, you're not going to have a choice. The reason the bad guys are running around like chickens with their heads cut off, the reason that political bigwigs from Howard Dean to Mark L'Oreal are nutting up is because black people are asserting ourselves. And by the way, Bernie Sanders is from Vermont.
Is he?
And you know who else is from Vermont? Howard Dean. And how do both of those jackasses feel about reparations? They don't support them. He's supposed to be Yankees here. He's supposed to be good white liberals from up north here. Bernie Sanders is supposed to be a Jewish liberal. He washes your face with that every 5 seconds. He wants to remind you. I mean, there's not a freaking stop that he's had where he doesn't remind you that he's Jewish. The bought and paid for black bootlicks who white power uses to control us and to disperse the revolutionary energy that we keep amassing has failed. It's failed this time. Because the movement is not being led by a leader, which means you're not going to be able to nominate a bootlick to be the mouthpiece or the face of or the spokesperson for this movement. The ideology is the movement. We don't have a leader, we got teams now, and the teams are united amongst a common strategy, a common goal, a common purpose, a common agenda. White supremacy has placed black bootlicks at all levels and throughout every strata of our community. They are there as the control mechanism. Every time you look up, you got these Negroes who nobody can figure out where the hell their money came from, yet they always seem to have money for their political campaigns, and they always seem to be invited to certain parties that nobody else gets invited to. They always are having lunches with such and such a white person, such and such a congressman, such and such a sheriff, such and such a mayor. It's like, why the hell are these guys at the bell of the ball? Because white power is letting you know. These are the Negroes who we have put in place as the overseers within the black community. They are our eyes, ears, and hands within the black community, and their job is that you're going to have them in the room because you're going to trust them because they're one of you. And yet, whenever you guys decide that it's time to overthrow white supremacy, well, here's going to be Roly-Poly Martin. Here's going to be Michael Eric Dyson. Here's going to be Joy Reid. Well, here's going to be Angela Rye. You guys seem to think that immigrants are working against your interests, and that one, that's oversimplification, and two, it's just not true, and three, it's very dangerous for you to be saying that because, well, I'm an immigrant, and what you're saying is you don't want me to rule over you, and that's very dangerous. That's very, very dangerous for you not to want me to rule over you, because I'm the one who knows what's in your best interest. That's very dangerous. That's what's happening here. We're bringing it all down. White supremacy and their bootlicks understand that when this thing falls, when this ship sinks, when the great ship white supremacy Titanic goes down, it's going to have all hands aboard. Ain't going to be no lifeboats because we already cut those loose first. White supremacy put the black bootlicks over us, but what's happening is we're driving these traitors out. We are cutting off the ears and gouging the eyes of white supremacy among us. You're not going to be slipping any agents into this movement because folks already understand that who they're going to be listening to are the ones who have proven themselves tried and true. The voices who have been out here for over a decade who have proven themselves. So no, you're not going to be trying to find some Negro online who you could raise up. The old trick of, well, we're going to find some black person who we appointed, like Roly-Poly. Yeah, that's it, Roly-Poly. And we're going to give him a broom closet with a table in it, and we're going to have a couple of flashlights and say that this is a Roland Martin Unfiltered. Roland Martin Unfiltered. Yeah, kind of the same way that you got a sewer line that's unfiltered, just full of crap. But that's what they're hoping for. But before it's all over, expect to have some joker that you never heard of, or perhaps maybe someone who we might have heard of in passing, who all of a sudden will be trying to tell us, well, yeah, but we don't want to cut off the folks who happen to be from the Caribbean. We all of us are victims of slavery. You can't just limit it to American descendants of slaves. And wait a minute, what about the LGBT? Look, if there's one thing that should have come out of this whole reparations deal, especially as it relates to the banner classification, American descendants of slaves, that's a classification that cuts across all lines, as long as you came out of the American experience of slavery. It applies to black people, descendants of slaves, whether you're straight or gay. It applies to you whether you are male or female. It applies to you whether you are Muslim, Buddhist, or whatever the world else there is. It applies to you no matter your political classification. I am saddened to say that it would apply to people like David Clark and Clarence Thomas. Though, of course, we should be going through their paperwork. You know, when the whole reparations thing gets rolling, let's make sure we find all the times that Clarence Thomas decided to mark other on his applications, and David Clark and the rest. You know, just because they may be descendants of slaves doesn't mean that we need to be cutting them a check, because after all, they don't need it. But the point is, if anything, American descendants of slaves, just as a classification, as an umbrella term, it cuts across all those lines. It is a unifying principle. So somebody coming along trying to do some intersectionalist talk, that's division. They're trying to figure out, hey, we know that there's some of y'all out there who are going to be saying, well, I got some Portuguese in me, and I got some Filipino, and some Swedish, and don't forget about the British too. I got some British ancestry. They know that there's some of you dysfunctional clowns out there who keep doing that mess. In fact, I posted on my Twitter feed today that Julian Castro, his campaign manager, some woman named Maya Rupert, said, and I quote, "We say after every election, black women showed up in droves. They are consistently voting not just for their own interests, but for all progressive-minded people." This is the campaign manager, who's a black woman, by the way, for Julian Castro. This is what they're saying about black females, about these black sisters. This is what they're saying about you. That you have shown them time and time again that you vote consistently not for your interest, but for everyone else's interest. The Houston Chronicle piece that I linked to on my Twitter page, you got Julian Castro happy as hell. As far as he's concerned, if I can get the black female vote, hell, I got the black vote on lock. I might as well, I got the entire black vote around the neck. Events will show whether or not Julian Castro is right or wrong. It needs to be a brand new day across the board. All of that divide and conquer bull crap that's been pulled successfully for all these decades, we're gonna see which ones of us prove them wrong and which ones of them prove the bad guys right. Because what's happening right now is it's easy to point to a Angela Rye with mustard and lettuce on the side, and Joy Reid and the rest of these. It's easy to point to these clowns because we've been coming out against them for the longest time. But what about the ones who've been sitting among us?
Follow me. Now, like I said in my letter, we are going into business. I've been breaking down animals since I was knee-high to a splinter. And I worked as a tanner up in Wisconsin back in the 60s.
It's a very long story.
Well, I've got 3 words for you. Rips Trading Company. Pristine pelts and animal parts. Both simple. I know the market.
They have lied to you.
Part. So, I'm thinking, you source the materials. Skins, glues, horns, and the like. I'll clean them and prep them, and then you go out and make the same.
Some police shoot that broadcast with live bullets.
That's what ones do. Wouldn't that be nice? Why are you still here with your provisions? Oh, really? Yeah, pack the rest on them, would you? Now, with any opportunity comes risk. Competitors, thieves, we lose the interest in the whole idea. What we combine our talents will be unstoppable. Now, I will require an initial modest investment, of course, startup costs and such like, but you'll recoup that as fast as you can say, "Hey, Trips, you handsome genius." So how about it? Are you in? My talents extend far beyond the harmonic.
Legendary phone, refinance costs, many others.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Anyone that's close to Maine, that's close to Lewiston. I don't want to go have to go far. Because if we have to go far, it's going to add to the bullshit.
As they see this talk gaining more and more steam, as they see that, no, this is going to be the new normal, which means this is what the black community in the United States stance is going to be on these issues today, tomorrow, and always. This is not about one election cycle. This is not about one president or one presidential candidate. This is not about one electoral race. This is the new normal, which means that you come back 50 years from now, guess what? It's still going to be the black people who came out of American slavery. And we do this not to separate ourselves from the African diaspora, but we live in a real world with real circumstances. And we have to be honest about the fact that since we have faced so much disrespect, not from all, but from too damn many within the diaspora, we felt it necessary to clarify our position within the diaspora. We're still part of the organization. We're always going to be part of the organization. That will never change. But what has changed is we have now clarified our position within the organization. That's what we've done. We've clarified it.
Oh, wow.
Same way these other groups have made it clear that a right of return for the descendants of American slaves, apparently that's not on the table. Same way that they've made it clear that some of them, too many of them, like to take little digs at us, or some of them, too many of them, like to try to run us into the ground when we have never done that to them. We have a number of issues, many of them forced upon us by the Europeans, saddled with all sorts of problems that we previously didn't have before, particularly our loyalty system to one another. We have a number of issues that were foisted upon us by our enemies, but we also have some that we came by honestly as well, and we need to be truthful about both of those, and that we can deal with it.
So we just need to be honest about that shit.
Foist certain problems on us, but he also took advantage of certain pre-existing problems that we had. He had been practicing divide and conquer in Europe for 1,000 years before he brought his show On the Road to Africa. He saw some of those conditions in Africa. He was like, well, this is right out of my playbook. I know exactly what to do about this, and that's exactly what he did. You got folks to be sitting here. It's one thing to be proud of where you came from, wherever in the diaspora you are. But when you decide that you're going to cross the line, there is one line that you cannot cross.
That's respect.
And that is the respect line. You never cross that line. Problem is, you go up and talk to those Somalians in Minnesota, they cross the respect line all day long. They spitting on it all day long.
First time home buyer hard.
You talk to those Jamaicans in New York, they spitting on the respect line all day long. And you talk to those Nigerians in Baltimore and D.C., they spitting on the line all day long. Too many cases, Joy reading all these clowns that is spitting on the line. Too many of these Haitians in Florida spitting on the line all day long. That respect line is a line that we as the diaspora never cross. Because just as what's true for the individual is true for the group, what that means is when we say we're all we got, it means that as a group. If you're a Jamaican, you have a reparations claim against the British. Now, I would never begrudge you that. But guess what else I would never do? I would also never go to Jamaica and say, man, you bunch of ganja smoking Rastafari. You got a bunch of groups right here. What the hell's wrong with you? I would never sit there and try to magnify myself over my brothers and sisters. I would never do that. And I would also never call myself trying to speak as some authority over them as if I know something about them that they don't know. Problem is, we've had too many of the diaspora who showed up here doing that mess, and you can't just hide behind, well, white supremacy did a very good job of vetting these guys. Yeah, they did. But the problem is, when you go to some of these countries, what you find is the same mess going on. So we got some issues, family. We got some house cleaning that needs to take place. That's part of what this is about. Because nobody's going to feel like any serious house cleaning needs to take place until we pass the test of time when people realize, nah, the way that we were trying to go along to get along before, and how we were everybody's advocates except for ourselves, and we're flying the flag for Pan-Africanism, and we're flying the flag for the great, happy African global family, and everybody else is sitting here either taking cheap shots at us or running us into the ground or trying to find some way to put us down. People need to understand, no, we're hitting the reset button with everyone. We're resetting our relationship with everybody. That's what's going to happen here. Now, a lot of folks are going to look and say, we understand, you're right. You guys have been the whipping boys for everybody else, and you guys have been flying the flag for the African family as a whole globally, proudly, and unfortunately you haven't been reciprocated with, and you know what? You are right for what you're doing. There are going to be those who give it to you, but there will be others who are looking and going, well, hell,
St. Louis
been
hard
our footstools all this time. You guys have been our doormats all this time. You've been letting us slap you in the face and get away with it all this time. Why are you getting offended now? And that's the problem. We've conditioned them to believe that apparently they can just keep on getting away with it. Like, our place in the world is to be their punching bag. Our place in the world is to be their spittoon. Our place in the world is to be their lackey and their underlings. And our place in the world is to be the ones who everybody gets to kick around. We've conditioned them to think that. Time to condition them differently. Time to condition them to the reality. Everyone. We got to make sure everybody gets this straight. Because once the African diaspora gets their minds right and understands that it's a brand new day, then what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of folks who look and say, man, they're straightening out their relationships amongst themselves in the U.S.
And
they are
everybody.
also finally straightening out their relationships with the rest of the diaspora. These guys are going to be burying a lot of these problems.
Oh, yeah.
And when they come back out the gate, they're going to come out the gate swinging, and they're going to be unified. And we're not going to be able to pull the same divide and conquer tactics as 500 years ago because everybody will have gotten their mind straight. They're trying to stop that process now and get ready to see a whole lot other than Kamala Harris who have immigrant roots. Get ready for them to be bringing that out. A lot of these folks who say, well, I don't necessarily, my family came out of slavery too. It just wasn't American slavery. See, we were slaves too. It just wasn't American slavery. How can you say that there's a difference? Because you guys have been sitting over there with them people. You've been advocating for your particular group and no one else, even though the descendants of American slaves haven't been the majority. You've been doing that mess. So you've been drawing lines of distinction between yourselves and us. All we're doing is we're agreeing with you. Now, why would you be mad that we're agreeing with you? Because what's happened is, in the past, you were the one dealing from a position of strength given to you by white supremacy. We're dealing from a position of strength given to us by us. And white supremacy had nothing to do with it, which means you will have nothing to do with it. You don't have the ability to elbow your way into the room this time. We've locked you out, and what's happening is you're looking at clowns like Mark Morial, and the rest of these guys. They can see the iron wall of their obsolescence coming at them at 1,000,000 miles an hour. They can see that they're about to go splat against the wall of irrelevance, because once we knock them out the box, once we have an entire 2 or 3 presidential cycles that pass where the black bootlicks, the clowns on television, these idiots are not able to say anything that reflects the reality of the black vote, the black electorate. Once we show, we demonstrate, these guys on TV, they mean nothing. What's going to happen is they're going to try to pretty it up at first by saying, well, there's some rabble-rousers online, and they're extremists on all sides, if there's an alt-right, I guess this is the alt-left, same way if they try to make black folks into Antifa, like we got anything to do with that crap when it's actually a bunch of white folk. Guess what? The same way they try to make us into the face of sexual harassment and assault in America, they'll be trying to do the same thing here. It's going to be a variation on the exact same theme. That, well, black people are the bad guys in all situations. They're the root of all evil. Why? Take a look at these people who refuse to take up the banner against Donald Trump. They refuse to get on board with mass immigration. They refuse to get on board with the LGBT whatever. These guys, they're just basically the alt-left. Well, there's extremists in every group. You got white supremacists, you have these black supremacists over here too, see? And you will be hearing that. And the same people who are pretending to be on board with reparations right now, Angela Rye with mustard and lettuce on the side, she's going to be the one out there just selling the soap, saying, well, we tried, but, you got to have a coalition. You can't just be out there by yourselves. You got to have a coalition, and that means you do what the Democrats tell you to do. Angela Rye is a political operative, been one her entire life. Simone Sanders, political operative, been one her entire life. Roly-Poly Martin, a failed political
political
operative, and he's been failing his entire life. All these clowns been working for these campaigns. These guys are not any sort of black activists. They're not any civil rights anything. They're Democrat tools. That's what they are. And what's happening is we're throwing out the toolbox. White supremacy could never have held us in check without having people within our community, traitors, to promote and protect white supremacy, and to disrupt our own internal politics to make sure that everything that we do always gets derailed, always gets thrown off track, and always gets dragged to some sort of white supremacist scheme. We've called these bastards out. We've pointed them out, and we're casting them out. We're purging ourselves of these traitors within. To white power, this is terrifying, because if we don't have white power black flunkies misleading us, then there's only one direction for us to go. Taking our power back through white supremacy. And they understand that what this is going to mean is that they're going to be losing power, and they don't believe in losing power for anything. Their position is extremely delicate. They don't want to see us threatening that. They're trying to head it off now, but they don't know how is the problem. Because of the fact that they don't have anybody to buy off. They don't have any connections within this black empowerment sphere. They don't have anybody who they can go to and say, hey, can you go talk to that Professor Truth guy? Can you go talk to that TVA guy? Can you go talk to that Tariq guy? Can you go talk to that Tarian Rain guy? Can you go talk to any of the other voices in that black empowerment? You know, this reparations thing and talking about how it's all about black and they're not looking out for anybody else. Can you talk to them about that? Hey, can you invite them to one of our parties? Hey, hey, there's some white women over here. Hey, there's a white man over here. These tools are not going to work. They don't have any means of making any inroads. We've cut them off at the knees. This is not going to be something where they can use the tried and true playbook, because we have neutralized those players. They don't have any sort of people who they can appeal to and send them to come talk to us, because we ain't talking to them. They didn't come out of this, so they are verboten here. And we have done the yeoman's work for the last decade, almost decade and a half now, of educating you that these black folks who you see on TV, they are not your friends. So it's a matter of, even if those of us who are the leading voices of black empowerment on the internet today, even if we disappeared tomorrow, the problem wouldn't go away, because you guys have been successfully brainwashed. We washed your minds. We cleansed your minds of that garbage. So you guys now know what to do even without us here. But that ain't saying we're going to be taking no time off, because at the end of the day, we want to see our team win as much as you do. They want to head this off, and every move that they make to try to deflect, dodge, and distract it only makes things worse. We're getting over our codependency issues. We're finally dealing with our inferiority complex. Having Elizabeth Warren or Alexandria Cortez trying to appropriate reparations, that has only angered us more. They can go ahead and pretend to themselves that, well, as long as we don't say it on CNN, as long as we don't say it on CNBC, as long as we don't say it in the New York Times, well, it'll be as if it didn't happen, because it's only going to be among those black folks on the internet. Yeah, but the black folks on the internet are the ones who set the frame and set the tone for everybody else. Because out of 45 million ex-slaves, we're the only ones who are organized. Yeah, the corrupt and crumbling fossils, those civil rights retreads over at the Urban League with Mark Moron Morial, or over at the NAACP and all these other professional do-nothing societies, these guys represent basically the 65 to dead demo of black folks. They're not the future. Hell, they're not even the present anymore. These guys are just sitting there, twiddling their thumbs, singing church hymns, talking about the old days when they were chasing white women or trying to shake their butts for white men back in the 70s. That's what they're about. That's what they're reduced to. So these guys are the definition of irrelevant, and that's the reason why you don't see any of us talking about, well, if we could take over the Urban League, take over the NAACP, why would I want to take over a corpse? No, they were created by white supremacy as tools of white supremacy, and we're breaking white supremacy's tools. So trying to figure out how you can have some black bootlicks tell us that, well, you don't need to be mad at Alexandria Cortez. We need a coalition. Nah, coalition's dead. We tried that. Didn't work. We ain't trying it again. We see through the scam, and we're becoming louder and more strident. The political issue is going to be what's in it for those of us black folks who came out of slavery and us alone. When you mention these other groups, the reaction you get from us, the survivors of slavery, it's going to be vociferous and it's going to be in your face. That's the reason why I talked about we need to have dedicated pressure groups. We need to have people on the ground who make it clear when Bernie Sanders holds his little do-nothing rallies where he's got 5 or 6 black folk all behind him, right behind him on the podium, so that when you do those close-up camera shots, you can see the 5 or 6 black supporters that he's got. When he tries that crap to let them know, you're not getting away with it. We see what you're doing. So the old ploys, the old word games, and the old so-called image craft and all of the fake imagery, that ain't going to work. I told you about that whole scam in my classic video, Why Roger Ailes is Not Going Away, which you can find in the archives on this channel. Back in the 60s, Joe McGinnis with his book, when he was president in 1968, he was giving a quote from Roger Ailes when he was working on Richard Nixon's first presidential campaign, that in places like Philadelphia and Baltimore, that they had to have more than 1 or 2 Negroes in the crowd because the voting base in those cities was at least 30% black. That's what Roger Ailes was saying. Well, we got to have a few of them in there, not too many, because we ain't trying to offend the Southern folks who don't like to see black people. We don't want them thinking that we're for everybody. But we need to have a few of them because black voters, they're going to notice if there's no black people in the audience in a place like Philadelphia. We got to have a few of them. And once we do that, though, we're going to be stuck doing it, so we got to be careful how many black folks we put in, because if we suddenly remove them, then the media is going to say, why no Negroes in the picture all of a sudden? That's what Roger Ailes was saying 50-plus years ago, back in the freaking 1960s. He was saying that back then. So this whole thing of trying to manipulate us by putting 1 or 2 of our own in the image, that's an old trick. We got to show them, though, that the trick don't work anymore. We got to show them that we're not anyone's suckers anymore. You're not going to make us ashamed of demanding things for ourselves. We're becoming politically selfish, which we should have done back in 1865, but you know what? We're making up for lost time now. We're becoming politically selfish. Oh, well, what about friends? Friends are overrated. Where's my tangibles? Well, we got to do coalition building. Coalition is for the weak. Strong people don't go looking for coalitions because they got enough. Coalitions are what you look for when you ain't got enough power to get things done on your own. You bring me my tangibles. Cut the check. That's what you need to be doing. Cut the check. And by demanding things for ourselves alone, it's going to make it where everyone gets put on notice. We are not looking for friends. We're looking for power. So when you come running up to black folks, everyone's going to know, well, you better not go running up to black folks. Why not? Because the first thing they're going to say to you is, cut my check. Where's my check at? That's what they're going to say. In other words, when you come up to black folks, it ain't going to be about, let me go ahead and do some lip service. And I'm going to say black people are my best friends, and black people have been neglected. They've been saying that crap since 1865. Unless you're cutting a check, I don't want to hear it.
And you're going to keep your 80?
And the reason I'm going so hard in the paint for this is my biggest fear is not that we're not going to get reparations. If we speak in one persistent voice, and if we are determined and we put aggressive action behind it, if we make it where they can't hide the reparations and nobody gets to sit this one out, everyone's told you've got to go on the record whether you want to or not. That's why you guys are going to be pressure. Make it where every time they look up, someone else is going to be running up to you with a cell phone saying, hey, about that reparations thing, you ran in Philadelphia, you ran in Baltimore, you ran in New York, hey, you're still running, Bertie. That's the thing. Put these bastards on the run. If they refuse to make the commitment, put them on the run. My biggest fear is that white supremacy is going to announce some empty, do-nothing program. Or perhaps they're going to say, hey, we got a $2 tax rebate. And that there are going to be some of y'all out there who are going to look and say, well, that's just the beginning. Well, they got to do something small because the country got a lot of debt. You see, got a lot of national debt. You know, they don't never tell AIPAC the country's got tons of national debt with $20 trillion in debt. So we can't give you a $38 billion defense package. Not over 10 years, not over 100 years. We're broke. The country's broke. They don't do that. Wall Street said give us $750 billion back in 2008. Congress said done. Israel says give us $38 billion, $3.5 billion a year. Congress said done. Black folks say you're going to pay for the biggest crime in human history for the people who built this country. Congress says, ooh, look at the time, gotta go. Sorry, the checkbook's empty. No, the National Treasury, you're not going to give us that crap about the National Treasury is closed just because you saw black folks finally storming the gates. That ain't going to happen. That ain't fun. We know what the hell was done against us. It's a brand new day, and today is payday. That's what it is, folks. It's a brand new day, America. Today is payday. We're not going to be giving them permission to declare themselves innocent of a sin that they committed against us. You're not going to have the New York Times and Fortune magazine saying that Democrats are trying to wrap their heads around the reparations thing. What are they going to do about reparations? No. Kamala Harris, the same Kamala Harris who declared that she's not going to do anything that's only for black people. Great, in that case, then tell her to dismiss herself, because she just did that. She just dismissed herself. She's not going to have any say over this. Look, when it comes time to talk about Jewish reparations, you take a look at who put together those studies. You take a look at who it is who writes the proposals. It's all Jews top to bottom. Ain't a single Gentile on the list. You know what? That's fine. They're talking about an issue that's for Jews. You want to make it where Jews are guaranteed that it's done to their satisfaction. The same thing goes here. You ain't going to just put black folks up there, because otherwise you get Ta-Nehisi Coates, who will have Alexandria Cortez say, it needs to be for everyone, starting from the New Deal forward. And he'll be sitting there silent going, yes, ma'am, just check mark, yep, for everyone, starting from the New Deal. Social justice, you see, Chris Hayes is my friend. I want to get back on MSNBC. And this is, where I stand is different than these radicals over there, those black first radicals. I'm not like them. That's not the kind of person that you want to meet. You do not want somebody like that in the room when it comes time to talk about who's going to be getting what. When it comes time to structure how the payout's going to work. You don't want somebody like that. What you want are some of the folks who are going hard in the paint for it. You want people from our sphere. We have more than enough experts within our own ranks. We're not going to have the same people who have been denying us reparations and been lying about reparations and have been insulting us and attacking us. They're going to be the ones choosing how it goes. The hell they will. That's why we got to get in their faces about it. Nancy Pelosi needs to be put on Front Street live on camera and told, you are not going to be doing anything with reparations yourself. We are going to tell you what it is, and you are going to listen to what we say and do what we say. And tell them, Nancy Pelosi, you ain't going to be part of this. Kamala Harris, you'll have no say in this. Bernie Sanders, you'll have no say in this. Julian Castro, you'll have no say in this. Like I told you, we will not have come into our own until we first demonstrate that we have the ability to destroy the campaigns of white candidates. Going after Kamala Harris and crushing her campaign means very little. White supremacy is not based on having their black flunkies out there. White supremacy is based on making sure that it's a closed club for whites only. That's what it's actually based on. Just like when they integrated the lunch counters in the movie theaters, they want to tell us that getting some sort of government program is going to be reparations. That's going to be what counts as all done. See, we fixed the greatest crime in human history because Kamala Harris passed some lift program that's for everybody. And here the black baby boomers thought that lunch counters and movie theaters was some kind of victory. Malcolm told you about that back in the day. We, those of us who are Generation X and the millennials and the post-millennials, truth be told, we have to prove that we've learned from the utter failure of Generation Fail. And that's what we're doing right now. We're showing the persistence. We are showing that, no, this is not going away. We're speaking with our own voices. We're locking out the people who shouldn't be here. We're showing the political discipline. We're showing that we're serious. And we have to also maintain that seriousness, because white supremacy is not just going to sit on its hands while we dismantle it. What they're going to do is, since they can't get elements among this movement, they're going to try to invent some. And I'm not talking about the usual suspects, though it may be. Don't be surprised if all of a sudden Roly-Poly gets another TV show, and he won't be talking that kind of stuff he was talking last week. It's going to be the old Roland Martin. Not this new Roland Martin who realizes that he's only half a hair away from oblivion. It's going to be the old Roly-Poly out there dancing a jig with Bernie Sanders next time. But expect to see some person who you never heard of, the same way that they did with Barack Obama. None of us ever heard of Barack plucked him from obscurity. None of you heard of Kamala Harris until suddenly she becomes Attorney General of California. That's what they're going to try. The white media is going to try to find some compliant black bootlicks. They're going to be trying to find some joy weed types. And all of a sudden, you're going to have these clowns you never heard of because you're getting all sorts of exposure on television. What do you think? Why do you think I was showing you that stuff with the breakfast schlubs on Ari Melber's show? He never had him on before, but he's got him on now. And all of a sudden, you got Rolly's Holy back on cable television again. They hadn't had him as a guest contributor to anything in so long, they funny. But they got him back now. This is the white media on the left and the right attempting to engineer a narrative that they will control because they're going to have some black flunkies who have never been talking this black first stuff all of a sudden trying to act like they talk for us. Don't let Charlemagne the Fraud and DJ Penis Envy convince you that somehow they're on this black agenda. The hell with it. You can't be sitting here shucking and jiving and talking about who's Drake beefing with and who's Cardi B sleeping with one moment and then the next moment talking about reparations. Are you kidding? Is this a joke? Yes, it is a joke, but it ain't funny. So that's the reason why we're not going to be having any of these people who white supremacy's been feeding for so long, having them talking to us. No way. This is about making sure that when we dismantle white supremacy, that means we dismantle their black bootlicks and flunkies too. So all you clowns out there who are trying to reinvent yourselves as black empowerment types, figuring that if you just use a little bit of our verbiage, if you just toss around a little bit of our lingo, if you decide that you're going to trade in one or two of our talking points, and somehow that's going to fool people into getting with you. Oh, look over here, Angela Rye, she said white supremacy. Yeah, for the first time in forever. And you're not fooling anybody. The old game is over. White supremacy doesn't have the power to unilaterally make you the mouthpiece of anything anymore. Even if they put you in the room and have Nancy Pelosi sign some legislation today saying that every black person in America and everybody else who makes under $200,000 a year is going to receive a $10 tax rebate. Reparations at last. That ain't going to fool anybody. You're not going to be able to bestow the position of black empowerment leader on your black bootlicks. YouTube won't be able to censor it either. You won't be able to bestow the title of reparations are paid for, reparations are finally a settled issue on yourselves. We will be the only ones who can say that. And by the way, just so you know, what we're going to be doing is going to be just like what the Jews are doing. As soon as you decide, well, we just realized we had $10 trillion sitting around and we're going to cut you a check. Whoa. Thank you. And next year, we'll let you know what the next check will be. Say what? Yes. It's going to be exactly like the Holocaust survivors. What's going to be happening is generations of black folk, even after we're dead, we're going to still have our children stepping up to them and saying, now, where's our check? We're going to take our check, too. Ain't going to be no more of this, where's my check? It's going to be we're taking the check. We're taking the checkbook, and we are right now wherever the hell number we want.
Exactly.
Next year, we're coming back and doing the same damn thing. That's what it's going to be. So ain't going to be no one and done lump sum payout. This ain't how it works. Greatest crime in human history, and you think you're getting off the hook with just one little payment? Ain't even. We are going to subject white supremacy to a breaking process, and this is how it works. Every time they look up, it's going to be something else. We will rip white supremacy, tear white supremacy, stomp white supremacy, crush white supremacy, until not even the dust of its memory is left. As Dr. John Henrik Clarke taught us, white supremacy doesn't have a problem giving you some petty trinkets. Oh, you want an integrated lunch counter? Well, they'll make you fight tooth and nail for it. That way, when they do it, you'll think you actually won something. You won nothing at all, but they made you fight tooth and nail for it, so you have to convince yourself that you won something. Because you weren't asked major anyway. You'll know when white supremacy doesn't want to do something because they're going to do a full court press like what they're doing right now. As long as it doesn't require white supremacy to give up any of their power, they have no problem giving you something. Dr. John Henrik Clarke instructed you on that. So the first thing you need to be asking is what I'm doing going to deprive white supremacy of its power? Well, do you know where their power comes from? It comes from the strength of their economy. So instead of asking for a lunch counter, which is basically you asking, can I have a nice place to give you my economic power? You need to be trying to find ways to take his. White supremacy doesn't get its power from their lunch counters or their movie theaters. They get it from their economy and the military force used to protect that ethno-Ponzi scheme. They have tens of trillions of dollars in economic power every single year. White power generates tens of trillions of dollars in economic power every single year. Now you go backwards to the late 16th century. The truth be told, 1619 ain't really the beginning of this whole thing. You got to start in the 16th century if you want the truth of it. But if you decide to use progressive scaling to go back 500 years, then you understand that trying to tell black folks that even half a billion dollars, oh, we're gonna, okay, $100 billion, nah, that ain't even scraping the surface. That's not even the tip of the iceberg.
20 trill, nigga.
And that's the reason why you're not seeing me getting all jolly about this Marianne Williamson woman. Because what I'm looking at is, you notice how the white media is not criticizing her for saying $100 billion. You want to know why? Because as far as they're concerned, she slipped into the room so that she can set an artificial ceiling. That's what she's here for. She's here to set an artificial ceiling and say, well, the same way that 40 acres and a mule got kicked around, well, now we're saying $100 billion. And let me tell you something, by the way, and I put this on my Twitter page, and you need to internalize this too. 40 acres and a mule, that's what you give to one man who you disadvantaged and took advantage of for his lifetime. If you got just one guy, you know, the old slave Cleopas, who you ripped him off his entire life, 40 acres and a mule is what you give to him. Because he's one person who you ripped off for one lifetime. What about if you ripped off Cleopas and his wife and his children and their parents and their parents' parents and their great-grandfathers and everybody else? What about that? 40 acres and a mule just for that. All these people who have gone their entire lives being raped, being beaten, brutalized, murdered, degraded, and all the rest of it. And after all that, you decide, well, we're going to take one of your descendants, give them 40 acres and a mule, and tell them to get the hell out of here. Nah, you ain't getting off that easy. And we're not letting 40 acres and a mule was a joke back then, and it's an insult today. We're owed a hell of a lot more than that. Don't you ever let the white media or any of their black bootlicks try to tell you 40 acres and a mule. I don't give a damn what that translates to in modern dollars. It still ain't enough. You ain't paying me just for what was done to me. You're going to pay for all of the centuries of accumulated wealth and the lost human dignity that has been stolen from our people. You can't put a price tag on that. That's the reason why you don't see the Jews stopping with their demands. You sit here and torture us. You sit here and murder and rape us, take everything from us, tell the entire world that we're less than human. Damn right, you're going to be paying, and every year we're coming back and getting more. This is what they're doing. They're making sure not only are you not going to forget, this is a debt that will never be paid because it was a crime that should never have happened. We have more justification and more right than the Jews ever did. So don't be sitting here letting them tell you that there's a ceiling on this thing. Ain't no limit. Ain't no freaking limit. Forget about scratch the surface. You haven't even taken a swing at the subject yet. You got a national economy that generates tens of trillions of dollars every single year. It's been generating trillions of dollars for decades and decades and decades now. So please tell me, what demand have you made upon white power that's even going to put a dent in that? Have you demanded anything that will even put a dent into the tens of trillions of dollars that they generate every year? Because reparations for the people who built this country, and that's what we are. We must never let anyone forget that there would not be a United States of America, wouldn't have been a 13 colonies. Hell, there wouldn't have been a North America without us. The Europeans tried to build on their own. We all know how Roanoke went. Didn't have a damn thing until they had some Africans who actually knew nation building to do it for them. That's no coincidence. And I like the idea of using reparations as a stick to crack the bad guys over the head with. You want to know why? Because reparations is a big ask. But it's also something that most of us can agree upon. Most of us anyway. But reparations, it's something that makes people uncomfortable. It makes them unhappy. It's the kind of thing that, yeah, when black folks show up, this is going to be something that people are going to look at and go, damn niggers, can you believe it? Yes, it's the kind of thing that conditions them to take us seriously. It's the kind of thing that lets them know we ain't no joke. It's an issue that focuses our collective will, and it makes these other groups very uncomfortable. So as a political wedge, far as I'm concerned, hits all the right notes. Stop being bashful about it. You make it clear, yes, reparations matters. Well, you know, that's pie in the sky. Look, this is going to be an eternal struggle. I told you that what's going on here. This is going to be the black agenda. This is going to be the black issue, whether it's in elections, whether it's in business, whether it's in society. It's going to be tangibles. That's going to be it. So if you're one of those black folks who has the attitude of, well, it can't be done, I don't want those people around me. I don't want the people who are constantly saying what cannot be done. Because if you went back just 12 years ago when we first started, the idea that black people were going to put white supremacy back into the national lexicon, they said, oh man, ain't nobody been saying white supremacy since the Black Panthers in the 70s, man. Well, we got it back into the national lexicon now, didn't we? And saying that black people are owed something from this country, that we're not going to be voting without tangibles. People were like, after Barack Obama, that ain't going to happen. Why? All the politicians are going to remind you about Barack Obama. I said, don't worry about that. We can hit the reset button, and we don't need Barack Obama for that. People thought it couldn't happen. It has. That's what Hillary Clinton learned. And that's what the Democrats learned in the 2018 midterms. And that's what Kamala Harris learned. And after Kamala got crushed, you had these black bootlicks on television and radio who realized that no, they don't speak for black people, and that a massive manifestation of black will, of the will of the sons and daughters of American slavery, had manifested itself and crushed a major party candidate. When that happened, that was a seismic event that occurred. And that's why all of a sudden you saw these black bootlicks on radio and television tripping over their shoelaces, trying to figure out how to say, what about that black agenda? Yeah, you see, we didn't need television to do that. We didn't need CNN to do that. We didn't need MSNBC to do that. Hell, a number of us here on YouTube, we got bigger audiences, a hell of a lot bigger audiences than CNN. Hell of a lot bigger audiences than these jokers that you see on MSNBC. So it's a matter of, we're not the ones trying to catch up with them, we're the ones trying to catch up with us. We haven't changed the message so that hopefully it will be more palatable to Joy Reid and her white producers and her white bosses at MSNBC. We didn't have to change what we said. They're having to change what they say. We're not changing the focus of our discussion. We have forced them to change the focus of theirs. And that's how you know who has the influence and who doesn't. That's how you know who's the dog and who's the tail being wagged. That's how you know we're establishing a new pecking order, one that puts us first. And we're not apologizing for that. We're not trying to figure out, can we reword it and put some sugar on it and water it down so it doesn't offend people? Oh, forget it.
I like it.
The new battle cry for black folks, as far as all of that, you're going to be losing white support. Well, y'all just going to have to hate us then. Well, what about the black-brown coalition? They just going to have to hate us then.
Let me go, damn it.
Well, you're going to need some sort of partnership. You can't be out there by yourself. Now, they just want to hate us then. Because what's going to happen is, once they realize we're not getting off of this, they have to come to terms with it. Once we have demonstrated that we have the ability to blow this thing up, that we have the ability to grind the gears of American elections to a halt, we have the ability to freeze and do it in a way that makes it where an entire political party is irrelevant. Once they realize that, and they realize that this is the issue that did it to them, they're going to be so desperate to get things moving again. But we first have to show the persistence. We have to make it clear to them, this is not going away. And you're not going to get us off of this point. And you're not going to try to put together some coalition that doesn't include us. You can try it, it won't work. Reparations has caught white supremacy off guard, but as you see, they did have contingencies in place. And their plan is going to be to either derail the discussion through the use of phony black activists, or as a worst case scenario, if all else fails and they just can't get this dang issue to go away, and black folks prove that you're not going to get us off of it, then what's going to happen is they're going to try to present some pathetic token, something or other, and then you'll have a whole lot of these black bootlegs saying, oh, reparations, and they'll even have the right wing out there saying, oh my God, it's reparations. The same right wing who said that welfare and food stamps are reparations. Just keep that in mind. For the right wing, everything is reparations. The sun rose this morning. See, that's reparations. So first order of business is that we alone are to dominate the discussion on reparations. We are to dominate it. What that means is ain't nobody else speaking on it except for us. Nobody else has legitimacy to speak on it except for us. And that if we are not the ones who get called in with all these white media outlets have to do, if they actually were news and not white supremacy propaganda, then it'd just be a matter of you bring on these voices you see on the internet, the ones who are scaring the hell out of you, the ones who you've been demonizing and calling bots. You go ahead and bring them on, and then you shut up and they do all the talking. That's a properly conducted discussion about reparations. The people who have been pushing this issue, the ones who have been championing it, they're the ones who speak and nobody else says a word. That's a properly conducted discussion. The one that brings in the tried and true black bootlicks for the white media, the usual suspects, these clowns who speak for no one but themselves, that's a fraud. And it's getting called out. And by the way, Bernie Sanders ain't the only one who's going to find himself getting embarrassed from time to time when some black person who's got their head on straight runs up on him with a camera. But before it's all over, these clowns, these talking mouthpieces, these empty talking heads that you see on white media, they need to go ahead. We need to have some Twitter videos and some Vines and some Instagram posts where you say, hey, I was able to catch up with Angela Ree at the airport. I was able to catch up with Roly-Poly Martin here. I was able to catch up with Jonathan Capehart or whoever the other black clowns are who the white media has on their air, just spewing hot air. Just make sure that you understand that any of these people who have been calling themselves trying to spread anti-black propaganda under the guise of liberal commentary, make sure that they understand the exact same way that people like Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders are being made to answer for the crap that they say. Guess what? You're going to be asked the exact same questions. You don't get to sit there, throw a rock, and hide your hands. Those days are over. That's why you don't see us sitting here complaining about, well, if only we could get some time on one of those white TV station sound stages. We point out the hypocrisy of what they're doing. We point out the fraud of what they're doing. We point out the lie of what they're doing. But you don't see us getting any heartburn about it because at the end of the day, this reinforces the fakery of who and what they are. Besides, what they would think is, I would be kind of worried if they started trying to find a way to coax some of us to come on their air, because it would simply be a way of them trying to last-ditch, Hail Mary, give themselves some legitimacy. They'd be trying to say, see, we talk to these guys, so see, we're legitimate. I would be concerned that we would be incidentally lending them some legitimacy. So any sort of interaction with the white media would have to be done very, very carefully. But the first thing we got to establish is that the whole talk about reparations is only for those of us who came out of American slavery, and it is a conversation that is only legitimate when it is dominated by us. It is not going to be something where you get some white person, no matter how well-meaning they may claim to be, who's going to tell you about it. We don't need some white person to tell us about it. We don't need some white person to tell people about it. We are perfectly capable of doing it ourselves. If these white reporters were the ones who brought the issue up, or if they understood it, then they wouldn't have been caught with their pants down either. We don't need some good white liberal to call themselves, bring it to people's attention. What they need to do is simply copy and paste what we're telling folks. Better yet, here's the press release, here's the column, we print it word for word, letter for letter, that's all you got to do. But they're not going to be doing it, because this is a racial policy that's being promoted, and it's important that the propaganda all go one way. So we're in for a hell of a fight, but this is how we're going to prove to everyone that we are serious about it. Reparations are determined by the aggrieved party. This is the reason why we're not going to let any political whores like Bernie Sanders or Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren come to us and tell us what they can't or can't do. Nobody's going to be telling us, oh, that price tag you guys gave us, that's a little bit too big. Forget that. When Germany lost the First World War, they owed France reparations. And France didn't let Germany have even one word of say over what constituted payment or how much in reparations that Germany owed. They were dictating the terms, and that was that. The Germans were having orders barked out at them. You started this war, and here's the bill. And that's how it went. Well, that's how this is going to go. And the white media is not going to bestow the legitimacy for determining reparations onto the heads of the people who've been fighting it all this time. That ain't gonna fly. These Democrats and their white media cronies, they're going to get called out. Because white supremacy believes in controlling both sides of the conversation.
Exactly.
Controlled opposition is a crucial component of mass social control, and as reparations refuses to go away as an issue, as we refuse to pipe down, we're not going to be distracted, and you're not going to be ready to see them try something. We know that the enforcement arm and the propaganda arm and the administrative arm of white supremacy work hand in hand. They're all part of the same white supremacist apparatus. Don't be surprised if the white media decides that all of a sudden there's going to be a sudden rash of black killings at the hands of the police all of a sudden, or there's going to be some act of ghastly violence against black people, and what's going to happen is they're going to say, well, you see, it was all because of Donald Trump, and see, Donald Trump's got to go, and they don't care about that. What they care about is we got to get black folks to get off this reparations thing, stop threatening white supremacy's power. So we're going to try to figure out if a heap of dead black bodies is going to dissuade you. Is that going to distract you? Get ready for it. I want you to expect this stuff. We're putting white supremacists' backs to the wall. You think that right now you ain't got some Democrats who are wondering how the hell if they can get us off this issue? Hey, last time black folks were this energized with that Black Lives Matters thing, well, George Soros ain't had penny one to put into this, and he wouldn't be allowed to be part of this discussion, so that ain't gonna fly. And they know that, so they're looking and going, well, look, a bunch of dead black bodies, that would certainly get them to be looking in another direction. And it's not as if they're the only ones who have thought this. You have that clown, Mark Levin. He's like this right-wing blowhard that you see on Fox News every once in a while. Before the 2008 election, he was sitting there saying that, I shouldn't say before, after the 2008 election, he actually had the nerve to say that if America had suffered another terrorist attack, Barack Obama would not have become president. He actually said that. That if America had suffered another 9/11 terrorist attack, Barack Obama wouldn't have become president. So you had Republicans praying for Americans to die by the thousands, just so that they could get their way politically. Mark Levin would prefer to see Americans dead than for him not to get his way on election day. Well, do you think that Mark Levin's the only one who thinks that way? There's a number of these good white liberals who, as far as they're concerned, why, if you had the Mother Emanuel Church massacre take place just before Election Day 2016, Donald Trump would be president. Black folks would have been galvanized. Donald Trump would never have been president. There are white liberals who are just like Mark Levin. They all are cut from the same cloth of white power by all means. They're willing to pay any price, but usually in someone else's blood, preferably ours, to get what they want. So yeah, there's a number of white liberals who, as far as they're concerned, if
name it.
Disconnected.
Now let me disconnect that name. Is it hot outside?
No, it's humid. What's things in the hospital?
Who?
Soup.
For what?
Things in the hospital.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, anyway. Let me see my phone. Let me text you. Text one, tell. No, Susan Hospital.
You are now paired. Enjoy.
Man, just keep it here. I'll do when I come back. I love you.
Love you too.
What time is it? 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Disconnected. You are now paired. Enjoy.
Mikey. Give me my money, motherfucker. Give me my money, motherfucker. Byron.
After Nicki Minaj was snubbed at the Grammys, BET, you know, that allegedly black entertainment television station, they decided to put out this disgraceful tweet where they were praising a Hispanic woman over a black one, running a black woman into the ground so that they can boost a Hispanic woman who doesn't even identify as black. She's a Hispanic woman who freely uses the N-word every chance she gets. And of course, Cardi B had to catch the wrath because the internet called this out. Well, I guess not all the people who are listening to what's hot on the radio are smoking more weed than the law allows. I guess a few of them are still sober. But you would think that Cardi B would just keep her mouth shut, but there's no cure for stupid. So after the internet let Cardi B know that she didn't deserve the awards that she got, and she clearly was given it because of some other reason, this was Cardi B's classy response.
But it's not my style for people to put other people down to uplift somebody else. That's not my style, and that's not what I'm with, and I don't support that. However...
And you knew there was going to be a however. What have I always told you folks?
But
or
however nullifies
whatever came before it in a sentence.
But let's continue.
However, I've been taking a lot of shit today. I'm seeing a lot of bullshit today, and I saw a lot of shit last night. And I'm sick of this shit. I worked hard for my motherfucking album. I remember last year when I didn't want for Bodak Yellow, everybody was like, Cardi got snubbed, Cardi got snubbed. Now this year's a fucking problem. My album was 2 times platinum, my nigga. And every chart that there was, my album was always top 10. #1 album as well. I fucking worked my ass off, locked myself in the studio for 3 months, my nigga. Then went to sleep in my own bed, sometimes for 4 days straight, pregnant. Some songs couldn't even get on the fucking album because my nose was so fucking stuffy from my pregnancy. Niggas couldn't sleep, niggas couldn't do shit. While everybody was harassing me like, you're not gonna do it, we know you pregnant, your career is over, that shit dwelling in my fucking mind.
Yep. Nothing says class quite like an ex-stripper turned rapper who goes on a profanity-laden rant complaining after she won awards. And she's a mother, no less. Yeah, this is Mom of the Year material right here. She's talking like she's still working for Single down at the Strawberry Club. Say, do you think the racist trash behind the Grammys will let Cardi B do the Motown tribute next year? I want to touch on this, and then hopefully the Professor Black Truth Pop Culture show will be over. There are some subjects that my people have trouble handling. Anything related to sports or music ranks in the top 2. So I'm going to ask you to be mature on this one. We need to have a serious discussion about culture vultures. And we're going to be using Cardi B as a case study. She's not the only one, far from it. She is a symptom of a far bigger, far worse disease. But we need to understand that being a culture vulture is not some small, petty thing. It's not some victimless crime. It is, in fact, racial hostility, because that's what motivates it. That's where it comes from. We have Cardi B, who has declared multiple times that she's not black. Hell, even Nicki Minaj scrounged up enough courage to call her out on that fact. Cardi B is a racist. This Latina racist is running around making money off of black people's music, and as far as she's concerned, she's getting over on everybody. Why shouldn't she think that? As far as she's concerned, she gets to indulge her racism against black people, and she gets paid for it. far as she's concerned, man, this is the best scam ever. I get to get paid for calling black people niggers all the time. That's, as far as she's concerned, that's what she likes to do. That's why I started off the video with the clip that I showed.
Mm-hmm.
This woman, she says the N-word as if that's her freaking job, because it is. And the white media that props her up, they get to have the psychic benefits of. She's telling these folks that she ain't black and she's getting away with saying nigger, and a lot of them, they're trying to defend her because they got color issues and they wish they could be her. And that's the game that they're playing. What Cardi B is doing is dangerous. What Cardi B is doing is meant to pave the way for all the other racists that are going to come behind her. Because now that we've let her get away with claiming, well, I really love black culture and I've got some black ancestry, but don't call me black, you better not call me black. That's a word game that these clowns use. Geneticists have already demonstrated both in Europe
We
and
all come
China,
from motherfucking
that
black.
everybody comes from Africa, so as far as they're concerned, they're playing a word game. But you better not fall for it. This woman running around using the N-word and all sorts of other racial invective, she's supposed to get checked on that. Now, the checking is never going to be coming from the black celebs, Nicki Minaj notwithstanding. And the reason happens to be, by the time you've had white media decide to give you a contract, is because you're a bought and paid for bootlick sellout. But this is a woman who freely trades in all sorts of racist stereotypes about black people. She got on Twitter calling dark-skinned black women cockroaches and monkeys. And this woman likes to throw around the N-word, and she'll tell you in a heartbeat she ain't black. Well, except when it comes time for you to check her on, well, why the world, if you're not black, then what reason do you have to be using the N-word? That means you're a racist, right? Well, no. On my father's side, he's Dominicans. Well, the Dominicans claim that they're not black, so don't try it. What, you're going to try to claim that your father's got some African ancestry? This is the genetic equivalent of saying some of my best friends are black. It's a rhetorical shield, and we should know better than let her get away with it. Now, we know who her audience is. It's probably, I would imagine, not majority black, but there's too many black people who have been either caping for her or running interference for her or otherwise defending her or refusing to take her to task. Now, in my case, I don't follow music anyway. So as far, a lot of this stuff I didn't know about, and now that we've lost my attention, while it disgusts me, it doesn't surprise me. But I know a lot of you out there, you basically live your lives. If you're not listening to one of my videos, unfortunately you're running off so you can go hear some of the latest nonsense. You should be the main ones who know better. You should be the main ones leading the charge. But as I said, Nicki Minaj is not the only offender. We got Asians who are getting a hell of a lot bolder with their racism.
Yeah, China Mac.
Popular New York radio personality, Ebro, he declared that only African Americans can say the word nigga. Well, there's this Asian culture vulture who calls himself China Mac. And he said that he can do it if he wants to, and it's about culture. How dare that little bastard?
Man.
But then again, Asian culture is about as bankrupt as European culture. They're no different, no better, and we should regard them no differently. Do I need to recount the Asians' racism against us, long-standing and well-documented? This little bastard in New York, that's where he's from, New York, where Peter Liang had the full support of Asians coast to coast. And not just Chinese Americans, Japanese Americans, Filipino Americans, Cambodian Americans, Vietnamese, and everything in between. This after he murdered a black man. Now, China Mac and Cheese, I call him Mac and Cheese because Mac and Cheese is yellow, get it? Hey, it's all about the culture, right? Well, New York Mac and Cheese is wrong. Asians share no culture with us. We do not and should never allow these other groups, these non-black groups, to be doing anything related to our music. They should never be calling themselves performers. Not merely because they do such a poor job, but because of the fact that we share no common ground. We share no common social ground. We share no common political ground. We share no common economic ground. So that being the case, we're damn sure not going to share any common cultural ground with them. Ain't going to happen. Besides, they're not looking to share common ground with us. They're looking to steal from our common ground whatever they can get. And the Asians, they have been some of the most strident and aggressively anti-black elements that we've had to deal with. These other non-black groups, they want to copy what it is that we do, but only for the purposes of being as disrespectful to us as possible. That seems to be the parts of whatever they're copying from our black culture. They seem to be looking for whatever they can use to weaponize against us. You don't see any of these half-baked rip-off artists standing with us against anti-black racism. Oh, they love black music so much. They grew up around black people. They identify with us. They identify with us so much. But just like with Cardi B, they never identify as one of us. This is why you're an idiot if you're still wasting time wishing for that mythical black-brown alliance. It is impossible. It is never going to happen because as black people, we're certain of who we are. We know who we are. The Latinos are completely confused. You ask them what they are, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You listen to that word salad of gibberish that she was spouting on Meet the Press. She didn't know whether to spit or wind her watch when she brought up her so-called ancestry. She's got Indian ancestry. She's got black ancestry, but don't call me black. These people are in total denial of reality. Well, white supremacy has no permanent plans for them. And when white supremacy finally decides that it's time to stop pretending that they were ever going to tolerate them, when it's time to show these guys the real world, well, you can lay good odds on who the first ones they're going to come running to are. You're not going to win any battles with these people on your side, so let it go. These corny culture vultures, whether it be the white ones, the Puerto Rican ones, the Asian rappers, they make me laugh. They're novelties. You know, the same way that you have somebody who gets hit in the head with a crane hook or some heavy piece of mining equipment, and they're kind of sitting there acting silly because they don't know any better. That's a novelty too. But just like with these culture vultures, it's a sad novelty. Everyone else wants what we have. They're being artificially given fame and wealth that they haven't earned, and then they have the gall to get all in their feelings when we call them on it. These non-black rip-offs, they're like someone who only knows the first verse or two of a song. They can repeat the first verse, but they immediately are reduced to mumbling the rest of the song because they don't know what's supposed to come next. That's what happens when you're not really from a particular culture. That's what happens when you ain't got what it takes to be part of a culture. Cardi B, she sits here doing her best Nicki Minaj impersonation. Not even a very good one. This heifer is barely audible. It's me, Cardi B. For a second there, I thought it was Rocky Balboa doing a rap song. That's what it sounds like. Cardi B sounds like Rocky Balboa's transgender cousin. This is our culture. We know the entire song because we know
she sounds like a transgender cousin.
And the creativity and the drive to do it.
What the fuck?
When it comes time to take music to the next level, no one's going to be looking
You
at
like a husky ass voice,
or
like,
Cardi B or Ed Sheeran or any of the rest of these fakers, frauds, or phonies. They're going to be looking to us. Hell, when it comes time for these white lounge singers and these Hispanic rip-off artists to call themselves making their next album, who is it that they come to? They come to us. They look at us. They try to figure out what they can rip off from us. Who do we look at? We look at the God within. That's what we look at. Our creativity comes from a divine place. It damn sure ain't coming from the Europeans or the Hispanics or the Asians. They ain't that brilliant. They could never have done what we've done. They could never have created what we created. So we have every right to take umbrage with this because this is the rape of black culture. Black culture is being raped.
Man!
And we're not standing for it. This is our culture, not theirs. We built this. They didn't and could not, and they tried to destroy it. They always try to destroy it when we make it. And once they realize, oh, we can't destroy it, well, let's see if we can take it over there. Nah, forget it. You don't belong over here, Cardi B. This ain't your culture. This ain't your genre. This ain't your people. This ain't your music. You shouldn't be over here. You're just a customer. That's the best move. Stay in your lane. And that goes for the rest of these non-black fakers, frauds, and phonies. We set the trend. We innovate. People look to us for what's next. These others, they can only imitate us, and very poorly at that. If these other groups got their way and black people just disappeared as they want us to, then all they would be able to do is to repeat the same old song, whatever we gave them last. That's all they'd be able to do. Run in circles forever and ever. Because they can't do what we do. Cardi B is the cockroach. Cardi B is the monkey. She's a little organ grinder's monkey dancing to our tune. Music would die without black people to sustain it and push it forward. Specifically those of us who are descended from slaves. Without us, music would die. You can't replace black people because there is no substitute for true creativity. And allowing these culture vultures to run around without opposition, that is not a victimless crime. What they're doing here, this is not just a petty thing that we're bickering about. What they are doing is dangerous to us. What they are doing is not just them slamming their gums or them trying to make a quick buck. That's part of it, yeah. But that's not what's really happening at its core. For the men who run white supremacy, for those who run the white media, the guys behind the scenes, this is a means to an end. Because when you steal someone's culture, that is no different than when the Arabs and Europeans stole our land, or when the Asians stole resources. This is just more of everyone taking what's ours and trying to make some kind of half-assed claim to it. Well, take a look at what they're doing in Africa. They're slaughtering, the Europeans are slaughtering the lions, and the Asians are slaughtering the elephants and the rhinos. They're destroying what is the heritage of all Africans. You want to know why it is you don't find too many exotic animals in Asia or Europe? They're showing you in Africa the reason why. And this is just an externalization of how they interact with everyone. Wherever they go, they're destroying whatever they come across. So what do you think is going to happen to black culture if we allow them to get their grimy paws on it? Well, let me give you a hint. It won't thrive under the Europeans, the Asians, or the Hispanics. I can't tell you what's going to happen, but I can tell you what won't happen. It won't get better. It won't improve. They don't want to be part of our culture. They want to take our culture. They want to steal our culture. The goal isn't to pay respect to us, it's to edge us out. And then before it's all over, they're going to be trying to claim that our music wasn't really hot until they got a hold of it. They're trying to make it sound, well, you know, when the blacks had it, it was just this niche thing. You know, it really didn't take the world by storm. But when we came along, you know, we were the ones who kicked into overdrive. We were the ones who really made it something. In other words, if they can, they're going to try to wholesale ignore the last 40 plus years of hip-hop alone, just to deal with that as an isolated case. This is what you see them do with Cardi B and Macklemore and the rest of these fakers, frauds, and phonies, and R&B's getting the same treatment. When you got clowns like Adele running around, when you got Ed Sheeran, and here he is, the white media's trying to make him out as if he's the next big thing, like they did with Justin Timberlake. They're going to try, if they can, to write Africa Bambaataa and Curtis Blow and Run DMC and LL Cool J and Ice-T and NWA and DOC and Rakim and EPMD and Nas and Pac and Biggie, try to write all of them out of the public consciousness and replace them with these corny white, Hispanic, and Asian no-talents like Macklemore and China Mac. And what is it with these clowns and Mac? You see, whenever some white guy comes along or some awkward Asian comes along and they use the word Mac, I always think of mac and cheese. Maybe it's because they're babies compared to the grown men that they're trying to imitate, like Kendrick Lamar and Sir Mix-a-Lot. We better take this cultural encroachment seriously, because when you have other people who are trying to encroach upon your culture, that is always a political move. This is not a matter of, let us try to figure out how to remove the culture from the people. From the opposite direction, let's remove the people from their own culture. When invaders run into your territory, the first thing they try to do is to give themselves some sort of legitimacy for being there. They try to make some sort of claim that I'm supposed to be here, I have a right to be here. But in truth, it's not their presence that they're trying to legitimize, it's their subjugation. It's not a matter of I'm trying to justify the fact that I'm on your land. It's a matter of I'm on your land and I'm trying to rule over you. That's what they're trying to justify. Because that's exactly what's happening here. This is a hostile takeover of black culture, if we let it. Appropriation means replacement, full stop. And we don't have to be pretty as you please about it. Some of y'all walking on eggshells, you're scared that they're going to object to you defending your own culture. Yeah, because you're the kind of person who probably would allow someone else to guilt trip you into not defending your own life. We don't owe these other groups a damn thing. We don't owe them any particular courtesies, and we don't owe them an explanation either. When they whine about us telling them hands off our music, you notice the one thing that they never do? None of them asks why we don't want them touching our culture. None of them denies the racism and bigotry that their people show towards us. They're not surprised by all this. They're perpetrating a fraud. They're trying to promote a con against us, an anti-black con, and they're trying to find out how much resistance we're going to put up. And the answer is we're being inconsistent about it. That's the change. Because these other groups, they're in the wrong. They know they're in the wrong. They just want to see if we're going to let them get away with it. And by the way, did you know that when the Dutch invaded South Africa, they tried to claim that they were the white tribe of Africa? I'm not making that up. Look it up. You'll find it out for yourself. And while I am glad that Nicki Minaj is calling out Ken Ehrlich is the head of the Grammys. He's the guy most responsible for a lot of that garbage that goes on. This should have happened a lot sooner. And Nicki Minaj shouldn't be the only one. Let's be honest here. If you're some black celebrity, if you had any sense, why the hell are you going to any of these so-called award shows? Why the hell are they going to these things? It's because award shows are a form of validation for a lot of these Negroes. And why is that? Because award shows are just another tool of social engineering. To have award shows where we're going to bestow greatness on something, we're going to make a declaration of greatness for something, that's a form of societal certification. It's a form of social programming. You're declaring that this particular thing is what the culture deems valuable and meritorious, and it needs to be held up for specific value. This is something really valuable. Hold it up for particular merit. This is what's important to the society. That's what award ceremonies are about. It is the bestowing of cultural and artistic legitimacy on something. That's the reason why you do it. This is why the movies that win the Oscar for Best Picture aren't the ones that make the most money in the box office, because that's not what the Oscars are about. The Oscars are about bestowing legitimacy and bestowing some form of societal validation and certification of greatness onto the movies that best reinforce the value system of white supremacy. We're holding this up and saying this is what the society recognizes as being truly worthwhile. We're putting the white stamp of approval on it. It is absolutely imperative that we check these bastards and that we make it clear that our music, our culture is ours.
Hands off.
But in order to do that, we're going to need power. That means the power to punish these interlopers who are trying to steal what's ours. Culture vulturing is not cultural, it's racial.
Thank you.
If the only way these other groups like our music, if the only way that they can find to like our dance or our style is if we aren't the ones doing it, then that's racial hostility. And we have to call it what it is. Oh, we like black music. We love black music. We love black dancing as long as it's not black people doing it. These other groups show their total disrespect and refusal to acknowledge our humanity through this racial hostility. When they call themselves, giving themselves permission to trample our culture and to try to palm themselves off as having some right to be there, that is racial hostility. Culture is no different than your house. Culture is what houses your way of doing things. And just like with a house, you have to furnish the culture with music, ideas, your style, your words, your experience, and a lot more. Now, would you let someone who's been attacking you, who has tried to burn your cultural house down numerous times, someone who's done nothing but tell you that your house is ugly and inferior, and that your house spreads bad morals, and that your house is just the worst thing ever to happen, would you let that person ever set foot on your property? Would they ever come within 100 miles of your cultural homestead? Would you let them stand in the living room of your cultural house? Would you let them sleep in the bed of your cultural home and tell you that they got a right to do it? Would you let that person tell the neighbors that your cultural home is in fact theirs? These white, Asian, and Hispanic racists, they don't even want black people in their neighborhoods. And yet these same culture vultures want to talk about having a shared culture with us. Oh, it's all about the culture? Yeah, black culture, which you're not a part of. If you aren't black, you're not even supposed to be rapping. I don't give a damn if you're in the shower. Don't let anyone tell you that we can't do anything about this, because we can. First thing we can do is exercise a zero-tolerance policy for non-black people trying to slink their way into our culture. Because the only way the bastards can get in is if they have some black person who lets
co-signs.
Some black person who decides for a couple of white dollars, they'll go ahead and produce so-and-so's album, or they'll do a Motown tribute with them. It's the same thing that they did with slavery. Europeans show up, they found some Negroes. We need you to introduce us to the rest of your tribe. Tell them that we're friends. Oh, and be sure to give them copies of this Bible. Make sure they read the part about slaves obey your masters. You want to make sure they don't miss that part. We are not going to make nice with groups who attack us relentlessly. They must be made to understand that when you call yourself stepping on black people, then you're going to miss out on all the cool things in life. The day is over for us allowing some bought and paid for sellout to come among us and sweet talk us into sitting on our hands while the latest culture vulture roams among us. That's how the Arabs were able to co-opt so much of Africa. They had a few black turncoats who decided they were going to help the Arabs do it. And that's the reason what you see in Sudan is basically a microcosm of what's been going on for the last 800 years because of the Arabs. You got some of these black folks who decide that they're going to throw in their lot with our enemies, and next thing you know, they're attacking us. That's what Smokey Robinson was doing. Smokey Robinson is the American Janjaweed. He's a Negro who identifies with people who are not black and will attack black people on their behalf. And the same thing goes for a lot of these black DJs, where every time you look up, they're just kissing some white performer's grimy behind like it's something good to eat. Instead of questioning them and saying, why in the world do you sing as something you aren't? You didn't come up in the church.
Yes, I did. I came up in the church.
You didn't come up in the black church.
You didn't come up the right way. You're an imposter. You're a fraud. Nobody ever tells them you shouldn't be doing this. Okay, you're selling a lot of albums, but you're wrong. Nobody ever stands up for black culture, to defend black culture, to protect black culture, to protect its integrity, so that it can be allowed to flourish properly without all of these other groups coming in and contaminating it and polluting it and trying to cut it down. The day is over for us allowing these chumps to have these little interviews where you do nothing but just gush over these morons and tell these culture vultures that, oh, it's okay, black music's for everyone. No, black music ain't for everyone. We are not all one big happy family at all. We're not. The black tribe is being beset by all these other groups. That's what the reality is. And as long as that's the case, don't you dare run your happy ass over here. Imposing on someone's cultural turf is a means to an end, not an end unto itself. This isn't merely about some white, Hispanic, or Asians who are desperate to have music careers. When you carry out a genocide, it's not the target population's music that you're trying to eliminate. It's not their style of dress or their social ideals.
It's the people themselves
who you're targeting. When you have these other groups who make it clear that they love what we create and can't live without it, that they want to imitate everything we do and say and the way in which we do it and say it, but they also want to run us into the ground nonstop, then that's not just theft. That's a genocidal agenda that's taking place. They are taking their anti-black racism and they're putting it into action in the real world. the exclusion of black people from the Grammys and from this or that white media outlet's best-selling albums list, that's not just these non-black groups trying to make themselves feel good about their own cultural irrelevance and cultural impotence. It's them trying to take our place in the world. But as we all know, you can't steal a spot that's already occupied unless you first get rid of the person who's already there. That's what this is about. That's exactly what this is about. This is about when we got people off the radio, then we're going to get them out of the award shows. We're going to erase black people from all visibility, especially where the music's concerned. And we're going to say that, well, these black people, we're just not going to mention them anymore. We're just not going to talk about them anymore. We've seen this in the history books. Black people were in Europe before the Europeans, but who do you see now? The Bible is full of black people. It mentions all kinds of African nations, from Nubia to Egypt to Ethiopia. But who do you see in the biblical movies? Who do you see in the illustration of the Bible today? In Europe, today in Germany, you still see St. Moritz, who is depicted as a black man, so that's what he was. From Rome to Corsica, you see the images of the Moors. Whenever you have these areas where you got that old Catholic imagery, those old Catholic coats of arms, you'll see depictions of black men shown there, Moors. But in the history books, there's no mention of them at all. It's not because black people didn't accomplish enormous deeds, or because we were not world renowned. It's because we keep allowing our enemies to keep encroaching on us. We never play hardball with them. Now, it doesn't have to be like this. We can turn the tide. We can push the enemy back. But first, we got to be realistic about the situation that we're in and dedicate ourselves to taking control of it. That means power. That's the reason why I tell you it's time for us to get politically selfish. As black people, we're always trying to be politically altruistic, politically generous, politically selfless. And what's happened is all these people who are already rich, fat, and happy off of our labor, and then getting rich, fatter, and happier off of our labor, they take the shirt off our backs and then slap us in the face afterwards. They bestow these awards on themselves, but the thing is, they can't bestow legitimacy on themselves. What's that old saying? You can't buy class? Well, you can't buy legitimacy either. You got all these rich white record labels who they've been trying for the longest time to find an antidote to the black sound. And all of their antidotes burn out fast enough. The population develops a resistance to the Osmonds. They develop a resistance to the Monkeys. They develop a resistance to the Rare Earth, to New Kids on the Block, to the Backstreet Boys, and NSYNC, and all the rest of these clowns. Yeah, you go ahead and introduce the virus of the would-be white lounge act trying to sound black, and the society develops a resistance, because at the end of the day, there's no substitute for the real thing. Now, when are black folks going to decide that we're going to stand for it? We have to draw a line in the sand and then stand on it. Don't get shook up. Don't go let yourself get undermined when these other groups start objecting to us finally defending ourselves and defending our culture that they have been attacking and that they have tried to snuff out on numerous occasions. You cannot separate culture from
both y'all
people who create
motherfuckers.
it. You disrespect the black man or the black woman, you have disrespected the black culture. If you can't stand black people performing black music, then what that means is you don't need black music. You shouldn't have it. It's too good for you. Oh, expect for the white media to be leading the charge to try to use shaming language to get us to back down, to discourage us. They're going to claim, oh, you guys are just as bad as the racists. No, because that would mean we're as bad as them. And we could never do that. Get ready for them to try to hit us with all of their reverse racism talking points, all the lies. You see, what's happening is the white music business model and the Asian one economic family, they're collapsing. They would already be dead without us. Country music, the only stuff in country music that's selling is hip-hop-ability.
Yeah.
You got these country music, so-called musicians When you listen to their stuff, they're using a hip-hop beat. They're using black lingo. All of their songs are about the club. I mean, for God's sake, I'm watching these videos and the only damn thing that you're missing is some gold chains around your neck and a freaking bouncing car. That's the only thing you're missing. I guess no one's figured out how to make a pickup truck bounce. Hitting switches on your F-150. Give me a break. They need us to breathe life into their music industry. And make no mistake, it's theirs, not ours. Black people were not committed to building our own music industry, so instead, we've become the employees and inevitably the victims of their music industry. But their music industry wasn't created to promote us. White media does not exist to promote black people. That's the reason why you're never going to get fair treatment from friends. Nor should you want fair treatment from somebody else's operation. You're supposed to be having your own, so you can get the best treatment. Fair treatment is a fair treatment.
Yeah, I was just trying to help your ass out.
You don't like.
I wasn't trying to shoot you or anything. Goddamn.
We need superior treatment.
I just saw a motherfucker rolling over here. I'm like, wait a minute. I just see somebody.
These culture vultures are trying to figure out a way to parasite off of us because their cultures are simply too feeble.
You gonna blow his head off?
If they had any vitality, they wouldn't be culture vultures, now would they? And by the way, my personal favorite is whenever you got some butthurt white guys who whine,
Well, black people didn't invent the phonograph or the microphone or the radio, so what
Good
do
job,
you
Slick.
think about our culture?
first of all, there's no such thing as an invention that is not based on previously existing technology. And at the very least, black people are, even if you want to be as denigrating as possible, black people are at least tangentially connected to all of those things. If we didn't have a hand in it, we at least had a finger in it. And by the way, that line falls apart if you try to talk about music, because if you got an iPhone, what's on it? Hey, you know what? You know what's on my iPhone? I got some music by the Red Octopuses. And I've got some Skeet Chasers' greatest hits. And I've got some all-time hits by the Chocolate Watch Band.
I never heard of that.
Oh wait, you never heard of them? Neither did anyone else because their music sucked. There would be no music industry without black people because there wouldn't be anything that people would want to go out and buy. At the end of the day, even music is part of the artificial wants. But how do you make it where people feel like I gotta get up and spend some money?
I feel jiggling and shit, boy. I don't know what the hell making me jiggle.
Try to make an industry.
Wiggling and jiggling, wiggling and jiggling.
Regularly go out and buy music, convincing them that they have to go out and buy the hot new song. Then someone's going to have to make some hot new songs for the people to want to have to go buy. If you're going to try to compel people to buy music, your music has to be compelling. And the white musician's music ain't compelling. The Hispanic musician's music ain't compelling. And the Asians, well, the less said, the better. And the reason that I say that their music is not compelling, it ain't because I said so, it's because they said so. You don't see us trying to imitate them. You see all of them lined up round the block to imitate us. There was music and concerts long before the iPhone, or the iPod, or the Walkman, or the radio, or the phonograph. We created music, not them. Without all of that technology, you would still have music, and you would still have people with a demand for music.
It just would suck.
Tell me, how many people would want an MP3 player or a radio if you didn't have our music?
All right, Slick.
If I were being as charitable to the pale males as possible on their little non-talking point, let's go ahead for the sake of argument and say that Mighty Whitey created all of these technologies, all the radio, the telephone. He created all of the stuff that we transmit music through the radio station, the MP3 players, all of that. Okay, fine then. I'll go ahead and concede all of that. But you know what? We want those technologies for our music. The problem is you need our music for your technologies. Without the pale male's technology, all that would happen to us is it would simply take longer, a little bit longer, to get our music to the people.
Why are you burning yourself alive like that?
Radios wouldn't exist.
What the hell?
People don't buy radio because they want a radio. They buy a radio so they can listen to something. Without content,
you little pyro, ain't you?
For your technology,
ah, damn.
whatever music technology that you're using would be.
He's like, fucking, I don't need it. Burn it up.
How the hell do you think they sold all those freaking Walkmans?
Damn.
Damn sure wasn't off of Bon Jovi and Kenny Rogers. We have the right to declare our music off limits because it's ours. Our music is not community property. Because if you want to talk about community property, then I'm going to be looking at the local bank that these white folks own and go, well, in that case, then, let's go ahead and make the money community property too, huh? We have the right to call these other groups culture vultures. We're defining ourselves on our own terms for our own benefit. And more importantly, we're defining our relationship to those around us. All that's left now is to gather enough resources and political will to make it where our definition becomes theirs. And do you know what you call that when you have the ability to define yourself in your relationship in such a way that your definition becomes theirs? You call that power.
Motherfucker. That's the shit right there, motherfuckers get really paranoid about. They're like, wait a minute. Niggas is not letting nobody else tell them who they are. You goddamn right, motherfucker. If you ain't black, don't rap, don't sing no fucking R&B. Plain and simple. It's for everybody. Nope. Who started rap? It was started in New York. I said who? Who? As in people, persons, or motherfucking group. Furious 5. Yep. Were they Asian? Nope. Were they Mexican? Nope. Were they white? Nope. Who was the Furious 5? 5 black guys. Goddamn right. Now, unless you are part of Furious 5's foundation crew and you are not black, what makes you think I would have any reason to really have an issue with you doing something that doesn't come from your culture? Don't you think I'd have an attitude about that? And I would have a righteous grievance on why I don't want nobody that ain't black touching anything that's black. Period. You can't do that. Yeah, the fuck we can. If you ain't this nigga eyeballs. Oh, I was about to say, what the fuck is he sleeping on the job? This butcher here, man. Call you the butcher man. They call him the butcher man. Mr. Butcher Man.
Been a lot of that lately, but they always
yeah,
move.
Shit.
I'll take it, but I've already got too many.
Alright, that's good. Alright, that's gonna be end out for today. It's hella fucking dark. Can't really see my black ass. Standing some light over here. Oh. And we have another closeout from Red Dention Online. Tales of, I don't know what I call my guy. I forgot. Like, I wanted to say The Adventures of John Horse. If you don't know, Google that shit. Or the grandson of or one of the tales of John Brown's surviving black raiders. Either way, it's another story, another trilogy, another breakdown for Professor Black Truth, Jason Black, Tariq Nasheed, and the new Black Media. If you don't know, now you know. Be first, be one, black first. Y'all gonna give us what you owe. Pay that reparations. Now, nigga! Tangibles more than 2020. Bitch! And we gone. And if you want to hear more, like, share, subscribe. And I figure out if I want to do one when I do one. Other than that, I holla.